that what you wanted to talk about, Jake?
I do want to talk about that. Like I want to talk because like
about the fact that you recorded it.
No. The specifically, I want to talk about because when I was reading that article, what I was seeing for myself was this is the experience that I was walking through right then in that moment of just fear of survival, like seeing myself existing as a picture, or really just like not being connected with all of nature, all of, the world here at large, all of life essentially. And just seeing my part in surviving, and then how that has evolved, and seeing how the mind has really evolved within humanity, not humanity itself or beings themselves, just the mind has evolved to create survival in this way now, as opposed to, and I remember thinking this like in, middle school, where I was thinking, we've evolved so much from, going out and hunting food. And now, we can just get food at the grocery store. And that is an evolution of survival. And the technology is an evolution of that survival. And we still have to keep trying to survive. I remember having this thought of that is what life is about, of just surviving. Right. And so getting now to where I was reading this yesterday, I was seeing, oh, I'm still existing as that. And then the practical solutions that were given, it was so clear, and it made so much sense to me in that moment, because I could see myself facing that in that moment. And then the really cool thing about it was then I could understand some of the things that Avery was talking about, like on Friday. Then I could understand that even more, and just go, okay, I can let go of like these fears that I have, because the fear is basically me just participating or going completely 100% with the need of survival, which is what we've created as a framework, as how we're interacting with each other as society and as this world, right? And then the really cool point that I wanted to share was this morning when I woke up with the thought in my mind of, I'm going to get up and learn something. Like, I'm excited to go learn something. And immediately following that thought was, I should stay sleeping, because then I'll get full rest, and then I won't be tired. Like if I get up now, then I'll be tired, and then it's going to disrupt the whole day and all that. Right. And there was this image, like this all happened, in an instant. You know how it is when you're sleeping, you wake up all in an instant. I had this image as well of a puzzle piece, right? A puzzle, and a puzzle piece being dislodged, and me saying that I wanted to get up was dislodging this puzzle piece from the entire puzzle that now was going to be disrupted. It was going to be broken apart. It was going to disrupt the network. It was going to upset things, upset the balance. And my fear was I was going to upset the balance of the day, my life, of people. And I could see how that relates to what we're doing here in this world as society, as people, is we're afraid to upset this balance, but we don't even question what that balance is of what we're doing together to this world and to other human beings. That's what I wanted to talk about today.
We did it. Should we end it there?
That's it. That's the podcast. No. That's literally everything that I wanted to share.
It's cool though, because the whole point is the going into the fear of survival. We have never transcended that point, to the point where when we're like, hey, we should have a world where everybody has what they need, they're like, oh, that's what would be the point of life then? And it's like,
yeah,
literally everything you're doing in your life is trying to make it easier to survive. But then if we even talk about solving that problem, it's like, well, then we wouldn't have any reason to live. It's like,
Right. Because we've identified ourselves with the need to survive. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. So then it becomes really clear how, like, oh, okay, now I can see how we've
Drake,
identified ourselves. Yeah.
you gotta move your camera down, dude. You just look like a floating head.
I am a floating head. How's
Oh
that
my
better?
god! Wow, you like a whole doohickey now. That's great.
A full half of a child man child. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, but I forgot what I was saying.
you were crushing it, dude. I'm so sorry.
Thanks.
But just that point of not transcending survival.
Yeah, so we've identified ourselves as survival. We've identified ourselves as the mind. We've identified ourselves as consciousness. Like, this is why people say so often, like, I am my feelings, I am my emotions, I like, that's what makes me human. I am consciousness. Like, that, isn't that what life is about? And it's like, I can see it more clearly now how I have identified myself in that way. And so that's why we would fight so hard for, well, what would be the point of life if everything was taken care of? Like, what? That's so ridiculous. And it's so funny because we're so close to that, as far as with the technologies that we have, with the available resources and everything. It wouldn't be a far stretch to just, okay, now let's organize these resources and these technologies so that everything is taken care of. But
Yeah.
we're so far away from that because we ourselves are removed from life itself, and we've identified ourselves as life is just about survival. And if you take that away from us, then I don't exist. I have no reason to exist. And it also takes away, this is also the part within, like, why walking this process, Techno Tutor, Destiny, all of that, right? Why it's so hard for people, because they've identified themselves as their consciousness and their memories and all the things that play into that now we're saying, okay, but that's not all of who you are. That's a very limited view of who you are. And then you start forgiving those memories and letting go of those things. And then it feels like you are letting go of yourself, losing yourself, because you've identified as that consciousness. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Have y'all read the there's an article on the Destiny website for, I don't know if it's the only one from Jesus, but it's one of them, right?
There's several from Jesus.
There's several, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but he talks about this point of coming to the earth and then trying to explain to people, or maybe not so much trying to explain to them, but seeing that everyone's trapped in a picture.
I've read that one.
But you notice they talk about the same thing in that global warming article that you were talking about, that you were bringing up earlier, right?
Yeah.
Asif says, did we start? We'll know whenever we're done, when we started.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my point though is, like, there's a key point within that for people to realize, like the being trapped in a picture. It's like you're a picture trapped in a picture reality. Like, you look at yourself as a picture. That's why your memories are more important, because it sort of keeps the whole picture that you have of your life in intact. You know, you're talking about that puzzle piece, right? But we're having a really cool conversation last night. We had some people over and we were talking about religion and so forth, and Jesus and all of that. And his message really being, hey, we could have a world that's best for all if you just realize that you're a god. Because what he said, like, aren't we all gods? Like, what are you doing like thinking that you're stuck in this reality and your only purpose of existence is survival, right? And it seems like a big problem, because there's so many different people in this world, and they're all kind of trapped in their own little version of what they think reality is and what they think their life is. And it all comes down to, I'm just here to survive. I mean, even the people that you would think are at the top, like the billionaires and the multi-billionaires and all that, they're still in that same thing. Like, if you think about it, no matter what industry you're in, if you're a billionaire, or no matter where you made your money, was it not in some way fundamentally based on the fact that other people are trying to survive? Do you see what I mean? Like at some level, it was playing into that point. So even the people who look like they're on the top of the system are still literally just doing, they're in the same starting point and so forth. And that's why, I've been reading Bill Gates's climate disaster book that he wrote, which is why I recommended to read that global warming article on the Destiny webpage, because I'm looking at it and it's like some of the stuff he's saying, it's like, well, it all sounds really good, and it's a really well written book, by the way. I think we talked about this before, but it's a really well written book. Like, it's very persuasive. That doesn't mean it's true or it's accurate. It just means that it's persuasive, and it's written in a way where I can see the average person. I mean, the average person is not going to read this book. The average person is not going to read any books, but the average person who sort of thinks of themselves as intelligent will read the book. You know what I mean? It's that kind of person. They'll read it and they'll like be convinced by it, and they'll feel like, oh wow, okay, yeah, we got to do all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny because in that book he says he initially didn't want to get involved with climate change because his Gates Foundation's mission is more to do with solving poverty, I think hunger, and U.S. education. And it's like, what has he done for U.S. education?
He's heard it.
And here's the thing, because I saw this thought pop up in me because I'm reading this book, right? And it's cool to like, that's why I like to read stuff, not just things that reinforce what I already know or think, like things that would challenge me. I also want to see what are the arguments being made. You know what I mean? What is the other side being persuaded to see, right? And it's like, because I seen people make this argument like, it was Scott Adams. He said, if Bill Gates and my doctor disagree, he's like, I'm going to assume that my doctor is the one with the problem. To a certain degree, it makes sense, right? Because you're like, well, I mean, honestly, Bill Gates probably knows a lot more than the doctor about many things, right?
Yeah.
But it's also kind of playing into this whole like, well, he's a billionaire, he's got all these resources, of course he's done all the research, why would he be wrong? Like, how could he have gone to all these meetings with all these people and be wrong about it? And the solutions that he has, obviously he's got the most advanced view on it.
Yeah.
But he can't, even in the education sector, come up with something as simple as Technotutor.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't think he's smart enough. It's like, what's the starting point? What's our starting point? It's not purely just, survival, right? It's let's actually fundamentally change things to support people to change who they are, so they're not just believing that they're here to survive. Because it's like a tree doesn't think about surviving, it just exists. You know what I mean? Like, humans actively build systems to try and survive harder. You know what I mean? Like we already have the resources for everybody on the earth to survive right now, no problem. And yet the people who are already have their survival secured are trying to survive harder and more. Do you see what I'm saying? And then the people who are not in that position just are fucked. So it doesn't make any sense. It's like we're competing for survival, which virtually guarantee, well, it does guarantee at a certain point, you're not going to survive. So it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But that's the starting point. The starting point is survival. So the starting point is not stop focusing on survival, secure it, you're done, move on.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? It's like, no, we have to keep surviving. So if we make this world secure for everybody, we can't survive anymore. We can't play the game of survival. Do you see what I'm saying? We have to then figure out something else to do with our lives.
Right.
There has to be something bigger than that.
Right.
And I don't think most people have really thought it through. And the moment they come up against that point of questioning it, then of course you have all these other excuses and justifications that come up. And the fundamental one is, well, not everyone's going to change.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the whole point we're making, is like, right. So that's what education is. Look at the limited starting point of how Bill Gates thinks what education is. What is it? Getting a better job, competing in the economy. That's that's the context they're thinking of education. When we're talking about education, it's like, no, learn who and what we really are. That's real education, because no one ever told us that. No one ever
Right.
taught you that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. Like I'm looking at like all the people that I've spoken with personally who they want to do all these great things and everything, and they claim to be, you know, whether they're religious or spiritual or whatever, they claim to be like, no, I'm here to do like God's work, or like I'm here to like experience life and live life to the best and fullest. It's like, but every time I speak to one of those people, looking back now, I realized they all had the starting point of survival. Because when I would say something to the effect of, well, why don't we create a world that's best for all? They immediately would come up with their excuses of, like you're saying, um, well, not everyone's going to do it. Or they would have the excuse of, well, if we didn't have any problems in the world, then what would be the point of living? It's like, you really think that life is just about survival? Like you're not even considering life.
Yeah. But what is heaven?
Right. Right. It's supposed to be where you don't do any of that stuff. You don't have to worry about survival. You get to
Right.
And
express
it's always the
fully.
people who are like, we are creators.
Right. And
We
you're
are
like, then we
creators.
could just create that here.
And then after we have no problems, we could just like create stuff. Like our starting point could be like, let's create like the most amazing stuff.
They're like,
when
we are creators. So like the only thing they think they can create is problems.
Seriously though.
Have you guys ever played? Have you ever guys played or seen like Minecraft?
I've
Yeah.
seen it, yeah.
Okay, so there's a survival mode.
Yeah.
Where you can die, and you have to eat food and like mine stuff to get cool stuff and build stuff, and you can only build based off your limited resources. So you go and mine, but you don't want to die and all this stuff. And there's bad guys, blah blah. And then there's creative mode.
Yeah.
You could just fly around and just like create stuff. It's just for the sake of creation.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So how could you create a game that would be any fun that has no problems?
I saw somebody made an entire computer in Minecraft,
That's cool.
Right.
like an actual working computer.
Yeah.
And they can
fucking
like they can
cool.
like run a version of Minecraft on the computer in Minecraft.
That's so cool.
Crazy. Now see,
but meanwhile, the person playing that game's like got to go to work and survive to get the game.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like limited.
Yeah.
so it's like imagine, it's like people fucking love that game.
Yeah.
People specifically love the creative mode because you kind of feel free. You kind of feel like, oh, I don't have to worry about anything. So applying that it's like logically speaking, it's like, oh, but every story needs a conflict, right? Every plot needs a conflict. It's like, what about this game that doesn't have a plot, right? They made one in survival mode. They eventually made one apart from just survival. Like now it has like a story mode in that survival. But in the creative mode, people just create really fucking amazing, cool shit. So am I suggesting everybody go play Minecraft? No. I'm saying
I'm glad you're
bring
not
that
suggesting that.
concept, bring that concept to here.
You know, in looking at that, I don't think people consciously, not all the time anyway, are thinking, I have to survive. And so this is why I'm conducting my life this way. Like, especially those like people who are creators.
Right. They're specifically not aware. They're specifically not conscious of it.
Right. But it is inherent within our subconscious and unconscious, because of like, that's what I was saying before with like, we've evolved to this point. Well, not we, but our minds have evolved. Our survival mechanisms have evolved to the point where that is just the automated foundation of our starting points. So as we come into being born, just in general, our society is already inundating and indoctrinating us into survival. And so that's the foundation that we get laid. And then we operate from there, not even seeing really anything beyond that. Right. And, you know, like you'd made this point before of the creators only, those creative people only think they can create problems. They're actually really like, it's funny because I talk to a lot of those kinds of people and they're really honest about that, where it's like, man, I manifested some crazy shit in my life. But then they don't know how to go beyond that. They never, like, there's never a next step. It's always just, man, I manifested some crazy shit. I got to stop. You know, I'm a powerful creator, but it's always the wrong things. Like, okay,
so
so
funny.
yeah,
It's so funny because they always have a problem manifesting money.
of course.
And it's funny because this is the extra funny part. In level 3 of Jin, I'm not going to ruin all of level 3, but at one point he says, everybody talks about being manifestors and creators and all that stuff. He's like, the number one thing that you should use to measure whether you're a manifestor or creator is
Money, something quantifiable.
He says quantifiable, exactly. And he says, frankly, anything else is bullshit. He says BS.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Right. No, my
The
point is
people saying all that shit are going around broke, or they're selling other people on that bullshit.
right. So I know there are people who have like seen Self Perfected from afar and they're like, oh, they're trying to compete with Jin and like trying to take Jin. No, we're not. We fucking love Jin. Jin has a lot of very fundamental core concepts on how to get successful. But the problem is the people in there, not all of them, but a lot of people, they're not self-honest. And this is the big thing. This is like the big weird thing about using memorization as you educating yourself. It's like you've told yourself you're a creator so many damn times. You read so many books that we're a creator, blah, blah, blah. So you memorize this point, but then the reality of things don't line up. Just like you were talking about, it's not conscious, subconscious, unconscious. Like you're just still just surviving. But like, I'm a creator, but what I do from 9 to 6 is none of your business. Like
that's another one of those points where it's like you have a picture in your mind. And so it's a picture of I'm a creator. Also, there's this other picture over here. And so like you're just existing within all these pictures, but none of them are actually connected. None of them are actually like being able to interact with one another.
And let's make it more like concrete. It's like if you even have to think about the fact that you're a creator, you're probably not a creator.
Probably not. Well, actually, but you are. You can even create the illusion that you don't actually understand who you are and so forth.
You've created Minecraft within Minecraft.
Well, hold on. This world exists.
Yeah.
It's a manifestation of what we're all accepting and allowing. We are creators. There's nothing profound about that. The problem is whenever the problem is when you use I am a creator to not take responsibility for your creation. Like I don't need to, and this is how it's used generally. I don't need to be honest with myself about who I am, what I accept, what I allow, what I'm focusing on, what I'm creating, and so forth, because I'm a creator, meaning eventually magically I'm going to create something really awesome, and I don't need to worry about it because I'm just like an amazing creator. Like in other words, you're using it as a point of hope or wishful thinking.
I'm going to make
if I just keep telling myself I'm a creator, eventually magically everything's going to change.
I'm going to make it more practical, just a little bit more practical, because you said it, but I know that every time you've said this in the past, for me, it's always gone right over my head. You said that point of not having to take responsibility for what you've created, right? And in the past, when you would say take responsibility, I would think of it as like, oh, I did this thing and now I have to take responsibility for it. And, I did it, basically like it's almost like a point of blame. And so even realizing what it means to take responsibility for your own life, take responsibility for who you are, is like, yes, your parents did these things and your environment played this role in how you think and all this. But now it is up to you to take responsibility, meaning it's up to you to correct it. It's up to you to actually, like, as someone who is a creator, to take responsibility for your creation is not just sitting back and going, well, now I'm going to manifest something really awesome. No, it's like, look at the mess that you've made or the mess that you've been presented with and pick it up and clean it up, because you're the one who's got the responsibility to do that.
Why? What do you guys think is the main reason why people don't see it? Because what I'm looking at is at the very beginning, right? The other weird part is it's not a red pill. It's not a thing like in a moment that you have the realization and then everything becomes clear. It's really like this step by step, like you're educating yourself, you're changing your resonance through using TechnoTutor, you're expanding your awareness, you're being able to see through more. Because there was a long time where I was just, like the Abraham Hicks stuff, the universal consciousness, 100 monkey syndrome, all that stuff. It was like I was constantly torn between the practicality of reality and the idea of reality, of how reality works. There's like the practicality. Oh, like the way you create the 100th monkey syndrome is you go talk to fucking enough people and then everybody's talking about it and then everybody hears about it. Versus like, okay, well, we're all like united because our subconsciouses are all attached. And if I kind of think something, then like it'll all get connected. So something. I don't really know what the fucking conclusion is, but usually the conclusion is like, okay, so I don't have to do as much as I thought I had to do. Right. So it's like, you don't have to work as hard, but it was like this stair step of seeing through it. Now it's like, oh my God, like this is so fucked up what I'm seeing. Cause I joined some Facebook groups, some spiritual space Facebook groups or emotional mindset, whatever Facebook group. Jake, you know what groups I'm talking about, right?
I know what groups.
They're so fucked.
I
They're
know.
so fucked. Like Maylat is part of it. Christine's part of it. It's like they're watching these groups and they're like, oh my God, like people are so delusional. And I understand. I was there to some degree, not to that degree.
Yeah.
But I understand where that comes from. It's just the level of abuse.
Yeah.
That you experience, right? In terms of miseducation, all that. But what for the people who want to actually, it seems like they want to understand how reality works. Why don't they get it? Why don't they figure it out, kind of thing?
Well, it's part of what you were saying before, like that 100th monkey syndrome, right? Where like there's the practical aspect, and then there's like this idea of, well, everybody's conscious or unconscious mind is all connected. To an extent, that's true, because the practical aspect of it is, again, everyone being impulsed with that from birth, right? And basically we're all getting the same message. We're all hearing the same things. We're all going to school. We're all like being put into this same system. And so, yeah, we're all going to think really similar about these things, especially the sort of important things that hold everything in place. That's like part of that network or that puzzle, that this is I'm trying to use different words, but not just the foundation, but like the lace work of the neural network of different nodes of each individual, but also within ourselves. Does that make sense? It's like the macro is us as individuals, but on the individual level, it's happening within our brains, all the same points, And so why it's so hard is because then you'd have to let go of literally everything that you've built your entire identity and your education, so-called.
Identity.
And
that's the word. That the way we're talking about, like the thing that is in conflict with the image that you have of yourself. I was also thinking like the idea that you have of yourself, about who you are as a creator, as whatever the fuck you think you are, right? And as a happy person, as a wife, a woman, a man, a business person, all that bullshit. It's identity. You're right. And it's funny because Cameron and Avery always say this. It's like, it's about like about learning who you are. And I think when people hear that, because I just remember when I would hear that, like my mind would just go blank. Like, what the fuck does that mean?
right? And there's such a hilarious scene. I think it's in Anger Management or with Adam Sandler, where he gets put into anger management, right? And Jack Nicholson's leading the class. Do you guys remember that movie, Anger Management?
Yeah,
Okay.
saw it a
Sort
long
of.
time ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forget his name, but let's just say it's Adam Sandler.
I didn't remember Adam Sandler was in it. I remember Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, it's Jack Nicholson and Adam Sandler. That's like the
Okay.
whole thing.
That makes sense. Yeah, and wasn't he like the guy, or no? It's like he was. I don't remember the whole story, but yeah.
Adam Sandler, he's like this.
He like flips out and then he has to go to anger management. Yeah,
Exactly.
and doesn't Jack Nicholson trying to like sleep with his girlfriend or
Yeah,
something?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that part of it?
That. Yeah.
I think
Is that
so,
part of it?
Yeah.
He,
I
like,
think
but it's
so.
like trying to goad him or something. I
Get
don't
him
know.
to basically deal like man up, right?
To
'Cause
have the breakthrough.
he's really suppressed.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm not gonna. So his first class in anger management. So Jack Nicholson, he's got the big fucking eyebrows, right? And he's like, so I'll call him Adam, right? He's like, so Adam, tell us, who are you? And he's like, I'm my name's Adam. I'm an accountant. I kind of like playing. He's like, don't tell us what you do, Adam, for work. Tell us, who are you? He's like, oh, well, I'm a little bit more introverted. I like to keep to myself a little bit. Adam, don't tell us your personality. Okay. Tell us who you are. And he's like, Doc, like, I don't really know what you want. Like, I don't know. He's like, just tell us who you are. He's like, well, I don't know. I like watching football. He's like, don't tell us what you enjoy. Just tell us who you are. He's like, I don't get. He's like, oh, okay. So you got some anger in there.
That's like his first goal is to sell you on the fact that you have anger, so you'll come back.
No, the point is, I saw that clip like it's a couple years ago versus I saw the movie like I don't know, like a decade ago or whatever.
Yeah.
When I was young. Okay, I was like that. Joke.
When you were younger?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So not in the future. Got it.
But people always like, it's funny when sometimes when I say that like to somebody who's older, they're like, what do you mean when you were young? Like you're still young. But I just mean in the past. That's the joke I was making.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I saw that like, I don't know, probably like a year ago. And I was considering it. I'm like, true. Jack Nicholson's got some spells in that movie, dude. Like, why are we identifying ourselves as those things, right? As quote unquote problem solvers. Therefore, if we don't have problems, then who are we? It's like, that's the capitalist thinking. An entrepreneur is a problem solver. So you got to find your niche of problem that you want to solve. And that way you'll be able to make the most money in 30 to 60 days. You'll be able to take your coaching business from, $0 to 6 figures a month. It's like that problem solving. If you don't find the proper problem to solve, what do entrepreneurs get paid for? Solving problems. It's like that whole thinking.
Yeah,
in the
which
context
isn't
of the system.
necessarily true.
Exactly. It's like, you don't have to solve shit. You can solve nothing.
Like, what's the problem that, like,
Well, I've been hearing this whole NFT thing, right? Or is it NTF or NFT?
NFT? Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't. Someone just mentioned. I didn't understand. I didn't like look into it, but somebody was telling me about how you can like buy, like the owner of Twitter's first tweet for like 2.2 million, and now you own it, and that's like an NFT. I wasn't understanding it.
I still don't understand that.
But the point is,
Yeah.
but the point is,
Okay.
like,
Yeah. Okay.
you know what? What?
Okay.
I'll come back to it because I do want to talk about how we've progressed further and further away from reality. So I'll loop that in later. So tell me what you have to say.
Well, I was just gonna kind of give you my perspective of how to make sense of that kind of stuff, and it only clicks for me because I had seen this video a while back about. Do you remember that piece of artwork where it's like they taped a banana to the wall,
Oh yeah,
and then it's sold for, I don't even remember, like
millions.
millions of dollars or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, what? And everyone's like, this is just bullshit. And I understand it's not art in the sense of, oh, it's a beautiful painting that I want to look at. It's just a fucking banana taped to a wall. There's no other. So the meaning is not within the picture you're looking at. It's deeper than that. And what it is, and I mean, I have all the details. It's been a while since I was looking at this, but it's like, imagine you come up with a concept and you're like, okay, a banana taped to a wall. That's my artwork, the concept of that. And I'm going to sell you the rights called banana taped to the wall. And so you now buy the rights to me. So now whenever you want to, now that you own the rights, you can display this artwork. You can go tape a banana to the wall and call it Banana Taped to the Wall by Cameron Cope. And you are displaying the artwork that you've now purchased. And anybody else who tapes a banana to a wall, they're just taping a banana to a wall. That's not the artwork that I created, because I sold the rights to the idea, the installation. So the art is not just the picture, it's now not just the performance or the display of the idea, it's also the idea itself that you own the rights. Does that make sense?
No,
I'm not saying whether, but it makes logic, hold on, but it makes logical sense, right? What I'm saying.
I suppose it's just like it doesn't.
Well,
make
how is it any
sense.
different than saying, like, are you allowed to just go and perform the Beatles music?
Right. Okay.
Like, let's say you could do a perfect imitation of John Lennon, and you could have everybody play the exact, so it sounds exactly like the recording. Are you legally allowed to do that?
No, you're not legally allowed. Well, actually, they do have cover bands, right? But like when
But
you
they
go,
they have to pay for rights to that kind of stuff.
okay,
Okay.
I wasn't aware of that, but
Yeah.
because I thought just if you record it and sell that recording, I thought that's what you had to pay for. But anyway,
I mean, I'm not saying everybody adheres to whatever the rules are, but as far as I understand, you have to like actually pay for the rights to do covers
Okay.
and things like that.
but
Technically,
still, I don't want to go see those fuckers do it. I want to see the original guys do it, right? And so like when like the idea that someone else can tape the banana to the wall, and it's like obviously that's not the same fucking banana because that banana went ripe and sour a long ass time.
no, it's going to be a different banana. Yeah,
Of course.
it's your own banana you just got from the supermarket.
And yeah, exactly. And so even if the same first person came over and taped a banana to the wall, I'd be like, dude, get the fuck out of here. I don't care about that. I mean, it's just, I guess it's just really, I
So
don't
banana
care.
to the
But-
wall.
but
is the
that's
name of
not the
this
point.
podcast.
I know.
Right?
I know.
Banana to the wall is the name of this podcast.
Because at the end of the day, why would you want to look at a banana taped to a wall?
Who cares,
anyways?
right?
It doesn't really actually matter.
Yeah.
But I'm just giving you the theory behind why it's significant, right? And so
yeah.
when you look at the NFT stuff, I see that there's like a similar sort of point to that. Because you would think, okay, I could literally just screenshot that tweet. Like, what do you mean I own that tweet? Like, it's like, well, you own it.
What does
So if somebody else says they own it, they don't own it.
What does NTF stand for? Is it NTF or NFT?
NFT. It's like non-fungible token. Fungible means, I think, can be exchanged for money. I don't know exactly. You can look up the definition.
Not
what it
fungible. It worth $2 million. Can't be exchanged for money.
No, but what does the word fungible mean? Just look that up.
No idea.
All right,
I'm
just
looking
look
it
up the
up.
word
Fungible.
fungible.
Law of goods contracted for without an individual specimen being specified. That's in brackets. Able to replace or be replaced by another identical item. Mutually interchangeable.
Oh, yeah.
That makes
yeah.
total sense about what you're saying.
That
It's
actually- yeah,
literally,
yeah.
it's literally the banana on the wall thing. It's like, yeah, it's non-fungible. It cannot be replaced by another identical item. It's a thing within itself. I guess it can't even like unless the Beatles song is an NFT. Like,
But think about the artwork, right? It's like, oh, I put a banana on a wall. See, so I did it. It's like, no, you didn't. Well, yeah, I did. It's like, no, do you have the certificate that says you bought the rights to this from Cameron who created it? And therefore you're displaying Cameron's artwork, banana on a wall. It's like, well, no. So in other words, the ownership is a part of the display of the artwork, if that makes sense.
Okay.
dude, so now
Okay.
you can own like
So
literally
you can
everything.
I could go create a tweet in Photoshop and make it look exactly like the tweet.
Does that mean I can
Well-
own like the waving, like a hand wave?
I mean, you start taking to its logical conclusion.
Yeah.
What if they start doing that to your fucking DNA and stuff? Do you know what I mean? Because it's just information.
Yeah.
And then sue you. and
Yeah.
own you.
Wait.
Own
You
you.
can't be born. You can't be born.
I have
You can't
the
own
NFT.
people. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Oh.
But seriously, like there's so many like, okay, when you think about cryptocurrency, for example, right? Because a lot of this has to do with using cryptocurrency and so forth. Would you ever have thought just casually, oh, and then eventually someone can incentivize you to do certain physical movements and activities to get cryptocurrency that they want you to do. You would just never have thought, oh, that's where it could go.
I wouldn't have come to this conclusion. I didn't even come to the conclusion of like when I first saw crypto, if I would have known that where it was going to go, like I was considering just getting cryptocurrency for another purpose because I was trying to do some dark web shit.
Shady shit. Eh? You
Yeah.
fucking-
and I
Are you trying
decided
to own people?
Classic
got
black
me.
people always trying to enslave other people.
That's right. No, but yeah, I was
White privilege.
considering getting some crypto, and then I was like, I didn't do it, and I swear it felt like a week later, it was like cryptocurrency is like worth X amount more, and I'm like, what the fuck? I should have done that, you know?
Yeah, but you would have spent it anyways.
Oh, I would have spent all that.
Oh, you would have spent it before you could have.
Oh yeah. Who knows? I might have chickened out before then. you know?
But the point is, you would never have thought like this is where it would go,
Right.
into that particular area. Same. So with the NFTs, like, I mean, imagine somebody creates a whole bunch of NFTs, which are combinations of DNA,
Yeah.
right? Which is just genetic structures and like lines of code. And then so like you have a child and they come to collect like because your child's DNA matches like whatever they're, I don't know. I'm just saying like, you never know like where they're going to take this kind of shit.
You know how I see the NFTs that like makes it more clear for me? It's like if Kanye West produced a shoe that's like just this one shoe and it's worth millions of dollars or whatever. And then somebody else, you know, out somewhere produces an identical shoe. You're like, I don't care about your identical shoe. Like I want the one that Kanye made because it came
Even
from
though he didn't make it,
right.
some Chinese woman sewed it together in a factory.
Sure. Sure. But let's say like he actually like, you know, molded it himself, you know.
Sure.
Drake's like,
What
stop trying to ruin my dream,
Stop.
Cameron.
Stop.
Stop trying to burst my
I want the shoes off of his feet.
That's the ones yeah, even that, right? Like there's
True.
hundreds or thousands of identical shoes, millions maybe of identical shoes just like it, but I want the ones off his fucking feet, you know?
Yeah.
Then
Well, it's a way of making digital limited and unique. That's how I'm seeing it.
So really when I got from the start, which I don't know if it's going to be in the podcast or not, but Drake was talking about the progression of the kind of development of ego and how it has become more advanced over time. And I remember this point of really like reflecting on existential symbolism. So in other words, the things in reality that we look at them and we're like, what does this thing stand for or support in the system?
Yeah, like what's it reflective of at a deeper level of what we're all accepting and thinking and everything.
Exactly. Right. So then I was looking at, and this was like, I wasn't studying anything. I was just like, I'm like, when did we come off the gold standard? Why did we come off the gold standard? Because it's like, okay, we look at, you know, if this isn't clear to you, the only way that we can have this system is if people have and other people don't have. Right. So then you can get them to do stuff for you to give them what they want. So for example, that used to be gold.
hang on. Wait,
Oh,
let's pause
shit.
right
Oh,
here.
Shit. Ah, fuck,
That's
dude.
like such a fundamental point of survival. And this is what Cameron was saying earlier about like pursuing survival guarantees you will not survive because it is based on I have to take away or make something limited so that other people can't have, so that I can get them to do things for me so that I can survive. And so like you're literally taking away someone else's survival so you can give it back to them piecemeal so that you can survive. And anyway,
What'd you
keep
say?
going.
Well,
What'd you say,
that was the
piecemeal?
point that we're making in the global warming article,
Yeah.
was that the global warming point is a manifested consequence of the original starting point of trying to survive. Imagine if we weren't having the starting point of pure survival, we wouldn't have created all the shit that we've created, which is now polluting our environment and so forth.
Yeah.
So the point the article is making is if you don't change that starting point, it doesn't matter. There's no solution you can come up with, man-made solution that's going to change. I mean, it's so obvious because when everyone's like looking at it, it's like, so, oh, here's the thing I was looking at within the Bill Gates, because he said we have to get to zero emissions and then even negative net emissions, right?
Mhm.
And I'm looking at it going, is anyone talking about the exact right amount of carbon dioxide we need? What's the exact right amount of greenhouse gases that we need? And by the way, do you guys ever see this point? Because I'm like on social media, so I see how people are making arguments. But do you ever see this point where it's like, how is it global warming if you got this huge snowstorm in Texas? And they're
Right.
like, it's not global warming anymore. It's climate change. It's extreme climate. It's not, we're not saying the earth is just only heating up. We're saying it's climate change overall.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you read Bill Gates's book, he's saying the earth is heating up. We're trapping greenhouse gas. It's literally, he's describing global warming, what they originally classically called global warming.
Yeah.
So there is no reason to call it climate change. It's obviously a marketing attempt because they can't only show it only heats up. And people are going to have the experience of getting colder in some places and so forth. So they're not going to believe, oh, it's warming. So it's obviously like a shift in terminology, right? But my point was, what's the solution they're coming up with is let's take CO2 out of the atmosphere.
Which is a really silly.
But he says it's like a bathtub, right? We were talking about this, right, Asif? I don't remember when we were talking about this, but he's like, it's like a bathtub. Even if you leave it on a drip, eventually it's going to fill up, right? So it has to be zero. But then he says it has to be negative. Well, isn't the same argument like if you have a hole in the bottom of a bathtub, eventually it's going to drain out?
Yeah.
So where's the part where you have
bathing.
where do you put the exact right amount of CO2? It logically makes no sense. What's the actual? Does anyone know? No one knows. And then they'll even say, we don't actually know. He says in the book, these big storms that are happening, we don't actually know if they're because of climate change. We can't really say any particular storm, whether it's a consequence of climate change. It's like, so what the fuck can you actually say?
Right.
Right. And now they're going to implement all these things based on shit they don't really understand. So even if climate change is not real, even if it's not, things are heating up and we're all going to die eventually because Earth's going to get too hot, then the solutions that are being put in place, all the taxes, all this other stuff is going to fuck you over.
Yeah.
So it's still the consequences. We're creating more problems for ourselves because our starting point is just trying to survive. But if it was just trying to survive, we would just take care of each other. We would find a way in which we can all exist here with the plants and the animals and each other where there's balance. But what's the constant need is growth. Because that's the starting point of you're just trying to survive, right?
So is it that we have the starting point of survival, or is it the starting point of separation, which then leads us to believe
right.
we have to survive?
We have to survive because we're here alone. We're separate from reality. And therefore we have to just survive to try to maintain our existence, not realizing, like it says in there, reality, as we understand it, is a holographic projection of what's inside of us. So that's why we've manifested climate change and global warming and all of these points is because within us is that starting point.
A holographic projection of what's inside of us.
It means the outside is a reflection of what you're accepting and allowing.
Yeah. That
you're not just here separate from reality, walking around and trying to survive. That's what we've created as the picture reflection of what we believe. But the reality is, if we shift within ourselves, things change. This is why we keep saying you change, the world changes.
it's kind of like on the call that we had a little bit earlier, we were talking about how we've noticed that the people within our environments have shifted and changed, right? And also recognizing that they haven't really changed all that much, but our interactions with them have changed because we've changed and shifted within ourselves. And so that we're able to actually interact with them more effectively and then see a real physical change then.
If you change what's in here, things start changing in reality.
Yeah.
The problem is actually changing things in here.
Mm.
And not only within yourself, but supporting that for other people, because you can't change what's in another person yourself. Like you can't mind control people.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. So you got the spells coming, right? You ready for some spells? Okay, here we come. But here's the point. Why is it that other people are having a hard time changing?
Tell us, Cam.
Because they're not using their natural learning ability.
Oh shit!
Right? Does that make sense?
Dumb
So in
back
other
to
words,
Jesus,
they're not
become like a
able to
child
change
again.
what's in here because the systems that are in place are deliberately degrading their natural learning ability. So they're only just trying to memorize, etc., accept their place in the system. It's the starting point of survival has manifested a situation where all anyone can do is try to keep surviving.
And
so that's why we keep saying we have to change the system. So it might sound like we're contradicting ourselves because saying, oh no, just change yourself. So if everybody just change themselves, but you need education to be able to know how to do that. That's the problem. The education system is doing the opposite. It's reinforcing the point of survival. So we change ourselves, and in the context of what's here manifested, then we become more able to educate other people so they can do the same thing for themselves and so forth. And then through that, because it's an all or none sort of reality situation, it's a collective reality, then the greater reality changes. Do you see? So all you have to do is change yourself and trust yourself. The problem is people take that and twist it, because it's like things are hidden in plain sight and you only get 99% of the truth or whatever. People take that and then they say, oh, well, all I have to do is change. So they'll just put themselves in a position where they've hypnotized themselves to believe they feel better, or they make more money, or their life is a little higher level of survival. And then they think, therefore I've changed. But you haven't fundamentally changed.
Yeah.
Because if you had, you would be taking more responsibility and more and more and more and more in the system.
Yeah.
Right? You wouldn't stop and say, well, I'm good now. I changed. Okay, your turn. It's like what's preventing everybody else from seeing what you see? That's what you would do.
Yeah. So that's that as within, so without, right? It's like, as you're changing as an individual, the system itself should be changing, or you should be changing the outside reflection of what you're accepting and allowing at the same time, simultaneously, right? Or that phrase that we like to kick around sometimes, inner change isn't real without immediate outer change, right?
Yeah.
But then also the point of why people would not change is because of that cognitive dissonance, which is literally like a survival mechanism where you believe that if these thoughts or your way of thinking or the way that you have created yourself is challenged, you could potentially lose everything. You could potentially lose your life. Because you no longer know how to survive within the system. And so what people do when they're experiencing cognitive dissonance is what? They fucking anchor down, they dig in deeper, they go even crazier into the more irrational shit that like makes no sense. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Like the whole logical consistency point, when someone thinks something stupid and they're not willing to be self-honest,
Yeah.
they'll like maintain their line of thinking. That's what creates problems in our life. And so until somebody realizes they're wrong and acknowledges that they're wrong, they're going to keep creating worse and worse and worse. And they're going to go deeper, deeper, deeper into that thinking, like you were saying, until they either snap or they die. They snap out of it, or the consequences are so bad where they fucking lose everything. And they either change and be like, oh shit, dude, like I've been seeing things wrong, or nothing changes.
When you said snap, it kind of reminded me of this theory of
oh yeah, snap theory.
Snap theory. That's no. This theory of fault lines and earthquakes, right? Where it's basically the theory is that you have two pieces of land or plates or whatever it is, right, that are moving apart from each other, and then but you don't see it at first because it's just they're creating so much tension where they've bent, and then what you experience as an earthquake is then finally that snap where they adjust for that the tension that they've created for the this part. Let me show my hands. This part,
yeah, you're doing it all down here.
Yeah. This part is so far away from this other piece. Finally, boom, they correct, they snap, and so then you see like a fence that's been moved over 500 yards or whatever, right?
Oh shit!
And so, what we're doing right now in humanity is we are creating that tension. and we're creating for ourselves the what's basically going to amount to a massive earthquake of because a correction needs to be made, because right now we're existing as survival and as separation from the rest of life. And through existing in that way, we're not considering life. And so we are destroying life. And so we're destroying the resources that the planet that literally gives us life. We're destroying it.
So
And-
let
and
me.
just-
Oh,
and-
go ahead, go ahead.
and destroying also like the interactions, humanity itself, because of the way that we interact with one another. We're destroying that for each other as well.
So to summarize that,
Yeah.
in your life, you can either change now or things are gonna get worse. And then as a collective, we can either change now or things are gonna get worse. It could be a legitimate fucking earthquake, but also the equivalent of an earthquake in terms of things being shaken up and people being like, "Oh fuck, that's what coronavirus was," right? It's like the earthquake correction.
But also we have these corrections ourselves, like you and I, as we're walking this process, we also experience this earthquake because we realize like, oh fuck, I've been living like from this way that this whole my whole life. And then when we finally realize like, oh fuck, like boom, we're snapped back into reality, it could feel like a monumental shift, and it often
Oh,
does,
yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah. It's always uncomfortable. Like when Cameron talks about when his girlfriend was like, "Oh, you still think your parents like know everything or whatever." It was like this, like, "Oh fuck, like,
Mhm.
damn, like I know she's right," and but this thing inside of me was just like that I was holding on to, or that I thought was real, just like, oh shit. And to summarize a point, or something to consider in what Cameron was saying of the problem. Okay, so holographic projection. The thing that we're like experiencing reality as is really just because of what's inside of us. And the problem is people don't know how to change. They think if they read a book or hear something and memorize some information, then they change. But really, you have to be able to access your natural learning ability and your quote unquote programming, or like the very fundamental of who you are, which is what TechnoTutor is for. Now, imagine a child, natural learning ability, 0 to 7, or even pre-0 to 7. You are actually physically creating what is inside that person, that human being. And that's what's holographically being projected. So you can't call yourself a good person. You can't tell yourself you're a good person if you're not doing anything about what our children what is being put into our children that is going to be holographically projected onto reality, because they're going to be the ones who literally are this planet. They will create every aspect of this planet. And man, if you really think about what the fuck is going on inside of children today, man,
Did y'all see that tweet that I sent? I think I sent it to the group chat.
Scott Adams, huh?
No, it wasn't that. It was those kids in the classroom. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't see that one.
I'll just describe it. I'll send it to y'all later. But it was just like some quick little cut video I saw on Twitter. In the beginning of it, it showed like this teacher with like a mask on walking around the classroom, like very carefully, kind of like, like this, like looking around at each of the kids. And they were each at their desks, which were very far apart. And they had those like tall, like, it looked like those things you get for science, science fair project, whatever you call those things. But it essentially is but it's basically making like a cubicle out of the kid's desk, right?
Sugar cubes.
And there's like a little viewing window in it even, right? Oh. And so, like the teacher's kind of walking by and looking at everybody, and then it shows that, and then it cuts to a scene in the hallway, and it shows the kids walking single file in the middle of the hallway on this red tape that's like down the hallway, and they're like, quite far apart. And then like one kid branches off to the one side against the locker, and the other kid goes to the other side, and the next kid goes to the next one. And it shows like how efficient they are at like branching off and like each being separated like along the hallway to make space in the middle.
Sick.
And then
our kids are getting better. They're getting more efficient. That's awesome.
It shows a few other clips of like that point, but what I saw within it when I was watching it is I don't even know how to put it into words.
Wait, was it supposed to be promoting that?
It wasn't. Yeah, I mean, I think because there was parts where like the kids were like doing stuff and then looking at the camera, so it clearly looked like maybe they were demonstrating their effectiveness at implementing social distancing at the school or something. It wasn't like an overly hyped video, but it was clearly like, they were just demonstrating what they do in the schools, right, for their processes. But it was just that part where they were walking down the hallway and they were all in a line far apart, and then they were walking, and then the teacher was standing there and they would do the temperature check on the kid and the kid would go and then the next one would come. And I was just like, man, they're programming these generations of children now to be total, like, imagine
beyond robots.
Imagine growing up in that, and that's no, and you would think, well, just because they're going through that right now as kids, like they're not going to do that as adults, but that is the case, right?
Yeah,
100%.
That is the case. Like they're being trained. Even the ones who resist it, they're still in the school. They're still going along with it. So they're clearly not going to fight it as adults. They're doing it right now. And it's like, what society is being engineered right now that they're preparing all these children for? Isn't that I mean, what society was being engineered that they're preparing children for by putting them into the school system in the first place? Obviously a class system based on managers and office workers and factory workers and that whole thing we've talked about, right?
yeah.
And then this is just like the next little evolution of that. So what is the future they're trying to engineer by getting all these kids compliant to this particular just system of,
You know what
behavior
I was
control?
just looking at the word worker, right? If you look at the definition of worker, one of the definitions is about social insects. And so in a
Colony of
colony,
ants.
yeah, exactly. In a colony of social insects,
Or
the
like bees,
workers
worker bees. Yeah.
are the insects that do not reproduce, and they do all the gathering of the food and providing for the larva
Shit.
of the colony, right? So
Oh
they
shit.
they basically carry out all of the necessary, big moves that the colony needs, but they don't reproduce. They don't have a say. They're the workers. They're sterile, right?
You know what? And then, okay, so here's the point I was thinking of when you're saying that, right?
Go ahead.
Of like, okay, so, and this is where I'm going, right? It's like human beings, they create everything. When we change to equality, it's like, do you think the ants are still going to do that? Do you think the bees are still going to do that?
Do what?
Like, still have that hierarchy of worker bees who don't procreate, and then for queen bee who like procreates, or ant that everybody follows queen ant or whatever, right? Like the queen ant, and if the queen ant dies, and they all die because that's like the reflection of our society? Or is it like, oh no, that's what nature is, therefore it's cool that we do it too?
No, I don't think you can predict what it would change into.
And so then the thing that I thought afterwards,
Because
is like,
that's yeah. Go ahead.
it's like, look, that's natural in nature. Like it's always going to be the thing for us, but it doesn't have to be that way because we can actually create ourselves. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've been reading these books. I was telling y'all about. It's this 3-part series. The first one's called The 3-Body Problem.
The 3-body problem.
It's super cool series. I really enjoy it. Katie just finished the first one, and
Is that Seneca playing the recorder?
yeah, you hear it.
So cute.
It's either her or Max, but there's this. I'm trying to think of how I can describe it without giving too much away. But basically, there was this conversation these two scientists were having in the book, and the one guy says, because they're talking about physics and what they call basic research, which is kind of like into the nature of reality, like protons, gluons, muons, particle colliders, that kind of shit, right? Where they're trying to figure out what's the ultimate nature of reality. And so the book is a lot about those concepts. And so he says to him, he said, could a physicist predict human civilization just based on the physical laws that you study in physics and science and so forth, right? And the guy was like, no, because even understanding those laws, you couldn't have predicted human civilization. And yet human civilization still fits within those laws, not outside of those laws, right?
I like it. I like it.
The other conversation in the book where they were talking about the influence. Oh, no, actually, this is a different book. That was what was that other one? Permutation City I was telling you guys about.
Mhm.
And I think it was in that book. And they were talking about these deserts. Oh, they were trying to simulate. Oh yeah, that's what it was. They were taking like these really basic computer rules and then trying to simulate a universe, like from the beginning, developing kind of like along the lines of like Big Bang Theory and planets cooling and all that stuff. And so they kept running it over and over because they were trying to prove in the book that they could start with certain axioms and it would eventually evolve into a full-blown like life and nature and everything like that. They were trying to do it as a proof of concept in the book. And what was really interesting is it was making this point of like I can't remember the exact details was, but it was something about the influence that people have on the environment will change things in the environment. So over time, it's like you can't just look at the beginning part and then predict what the outcome will be, because the influence of human nature and so forth in the environment affects it. So when you look at the ant colonies, that's the result of nature having a certain starting point over eons of time. It's not natural.
Great point.
Does that make sense? Meaning, yes, it's the outflow of your starting point. So would it change? Probably not immediately. But would we then have subtle influence difference in terms of how we're approaching things, and then things would change to reflect? It's kind of like if you go into an environment and you start killing all the coyotes, then suddenly the rabbits are going to run rampant. I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know what their natural
Right.
predators are. And then
Right.
suddenly the rabbits start eating these plants, and those plants start, dying, which means the mosquitoes start taking over. And you're like, oh, see, mosquitoes are just natural. Or I'm just giving an example, right? But it's like, well, no, you interfered, you upset the balance, it changed. And I'm still saying this within the context of nature and survival being what it is, but just an example of when you have an influence and then it changes and then things adjust. But that's still
That's a great
also
point.
not even considering the point of that holographic projection point that we were talking about, which is what you're seeing is a projection of everything that's inside of you. It's like what you see on the computer screen looks super complex, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's just a projection of all the information on the computer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of crazy if you think about it. All the complexity you see on the screen is just the information that's inside this computer. And if you looked at the computer itself on the inside, you look at the information, you'd be like, I don't see all of that.
I'd be like, where's Cameron? Where's Drake?
Right. Exactly. You wouldn't be like, well, I don't understand. Where is Cameron's shirt in this? It's just like a bunch of like circuits. I don't understand. So we already understand that computers are really cool representation of, in a way, like how we exist, right? How reality works.
Holy
But
shit,
literally,
dude.
so if we change the nature,
Man,
I mean, think
got
the fundamental starting point, because when you're in when you're in survival, it's like you're in fear.
Uh-huh.
You're in fear. You're not equal to the reality that you're in. You actually think you're inferior to it.
Yeah.
So you go into this point of like, oh
in
shit,
fear.
yes. So it's like I have to fucking survive. I have to fight.
Damn, spells.
Right.
Dude, the computer point, like, whoa, that's like a big thing to because I know the reason you're able to have that realization is because you've already considered this for some time, but that's like clicking for me right now. In the context of holographic projection, it's like, you're right. Like, if I went into the CPU and like fucked up one of the logic gates, none of this would be processed. Like it wouldn't get that desired output, for example. But what I see on the screen, it has nothing to do. It doesn't look anything like what's going on inside the computer.
Yeah.
and it's just a lot to.
That,
Think
that's
about the difference between iPhone and
A microwave.
no, a computer, just like
Fuck.
a PC.
Okay, yeah.
A PC. I'm trying to give you a good example. Like, think of how much more you can do.
With like a DOS computer versus, or Windows 95.
I guess what I'm getting at is when you look at the iPhone, what you're able to do with it is the starting point of like what it was created for.
Versus a Kindle.
What it was created for was to get you hooked to social media and to
Oh,
track you.
nice. Nice.
Versus computers originally were created to like solve mathematical problems, make spread, like there's a different starting point in the purpose. So it's like there's more flexibility, which is why with our kids, they can use computers, but we don't, like, they know how to use a phone, but we don't like have phones where they're constantly using them and like they're doing all this stuff on the phones. Like if they play some games, like, you know, a little bit every day, but like not like a lot of the day, but we play them on the computer, and they're not like these microtransaction fucking dopamine hit games. They're more like problem solving type games. You know,
Hey,
there's a few that
Cameron,
they
do you
play.
have an iPhone? Do you have an iPhone?
I do, yeah.
Can you open your settings
Okay.
and then just show it to the camera? You'll be able to see the difference between an Android evolved. So you see on the left all the symbols. Remember
Yeah.
how on older versions of iOS it used to be much more, like the symbols used to be bigger. Kind of like if you look at the icons, they're like big squares, green for phone call, blue for connect, you know, like that, kind of like that.
Mhm.
Versus Android, they only evolved to have these symbols on the side, but before it was like just like the text,
Okay.
like that.
Mm.
But basically, iOS, it's like you don't have to be able to read,
Yeah.
right? It's like it's so easy to just like be like, oh, the gear, like boom, and then I turn on Wi-Fi because it has that symbol, and then you just click, you don't have to be able to read.
that's like in this book that I'm reading. I left it at my aunt's house, but Diamond Age, right?
Hmm.
And within that, they're showing, and it's like taking place in the future, but they're showing that you don't have to be able to read in order to get by. Like, and a lot of, you know, this society, or at least the particular characters they're focusing on, can't read, and they're just looking at icons on a screen and just going, well, okay, well, what is M, what are these lines? Oh, that's MC. What is MC? There's these things called letters. Yeah, we used to use them way back when. Supposedly, you know, they're another way that you can you know, read these, like, I forget what they called them, like micro glyphs or something like that. But media glyphs. That's what they call them. They're another
Oh,
way that you could
what a
read
name.
media glyphs, right? But they used to be media glyphs that people used to use way back when, but they're not as good as these media glyphs. And so it's like people today are very much getting to that point of not knowing how to read, not needing to know how to read. Well, not needing, but they don't know how to read, and so they become like these robots, like you were describing before in that tweet, where they're just doing what they're just like very efficient. They become basically like, the way I think of it is like when you watch those videos of
Amazon warehouse.
Amazon warehouse and they're showing your package, how it moves through the warehouse, or when they're showing like a video of computers and how the circuits, or how the electrons move through the circuit, or how information passes by, and it shows like these little packets of information as a light that's bloop 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 dripping by. That's what that kind of reminds me of, where you literally become a cog in the greater system that has no real say, no real life. You're just perpetuating the system. I know I say that a lot, but you're literally just, okay, I'm this is my piece in the system. This is what I do. I'm just an extra in this movie, and I'm here to fill in the background noise and make sure this keeps going.
All right, I'm trying to get like spells blue balls. So let me get out everything I need to stay right now. Okay. So
it.
the first
Spell
one
it out.
is the first one is, I got like 5 of them. First one is, I was thinking about how somebody was talking about how effective there's like Google Duplex or something like that. But anyways, it could replicate like human speech. Apparently, they're supposed to be really fucking difficult to replicate. Now they can do it. So I was thinking about like the development of robots and androids. About it's like apparently, like one of the phone assistants are like one of the most advanced, like way more advanced than GPT-3. It was I forget what it's called, like Nexus AI or some shit like that. Point being, I don't know if it was for the phone, but anyways, I'm like, whoa. So it's like the phone doesn't have a mouth like GPT-3. Like, remember when we saw that image of the interview? Like they added like an image of it with the mouth flap. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
The mouth flap.
I remember
Not the mouth flap,
GPT-3.
not the mouth flap, but remember there was an interview. A guy was doing an interview with GPT-3.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I think it
yes.
was pre-recorded and they added an image of the guy.
Right.
speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
voice. My apologies. I'm a little bit excited here. All the spells coming out. It's not cool when you say that you're gonna say spells, right? I don't care. So I was thinking about it. I was like, if you remove that person, it's just the voice. So it makes sense that we could have something really extremely advanced in our phone. Don't let the image of a person talking fool you. So how would that look like in an Android? And I don't mean Android operating system. I mean like a physical robot, like a human being robot. It's like they'll be able to get the voice and response and emotion down before they have the mechanics of the jaw effective.
Yeah.
Hold up.
So-
Hold up.
What, dude? Come on! I got the blue balls.
I know you're blocked up, but holy shit! Like, okay, what if we're creating people, their habits?
Oh, he's taking it from me.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm kidding. I don't even know what you're gonna say.
Because you were saying it so.
You're cucking him on his blue balls.
It's so clear. I'm sorry. I gotta step in here. Excuse
Do
me.
it, man. Do
Excuse
it.
me.
I respect you.
But I'm gonna let you finish.
You just fucking Kanye me, dude.
But okay, what if they're
Am I Taylor
getting
Swift?
human behavior to look like what they can do already with the robots, right? So
Dude.
okay, wear a mask
Mm.
because we can't get the fucking mouths to move yet. So wear
Ah!
a mask,
He's stealing my nut, dude.
right?
So
Walk
you're saying
in
so the
these
robots will walk
single files.
around and we won't be able to tell. Sort of, it'll be like
Yeah.
integrated because we're
It's like the
acting like these
first-
robots already.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes,
Dude,
yes.
exactly, man. Like that. But that's
You
only
know,
like
it's funny because I didn't see it like that, but that's kind of that point I was getting when I saw that video. It was like I
That's
see
what-
these
yeah.
people being engineered into just being like little like parts on an assembly line. Like there's your package, shoop, shoop, go there. Okay, now you go here, and like people are just like, okay, now I go here next.
like
okay,
you
I go
ever you
here.
ever watch an Amazon warehouse? Like the it's like the trolley, the thing that carries the packages. It's just like a square on the ground.
Yeah.
And so things will come on it and it goes like, woo, and they're like fucking doing dances and shit. Not dances, but they're just going like they're spinning around each other and ducking. It's like that's what I was thinking of when you were describing that. It's like, look, we're starting to get as efficient as the robots. You know?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
we're just a,
Like
we're
that
just a
sorting
lower
thing,
version.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it almost seemed like they was like doing like showing off their military drill precision.
Exactly.
They're like, choop, 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 choop.
exactly.
Yeah. Very weird.
And so it was interesting because I remember reading somewhere. It's like if the economic hitmen can't figure out how to take out a country, then it'll fall on to the CIA. If the CIA can't do it, then it'll fall onto the military. And that concept is like another funnel or pipeline of that is like media to the system to education. And if the adults will just put it into the children, where the education will train them like military, and then that will become the people who then create the education system. Anyways, that's an aside.
Well, you know, it's funny you saying that because we were talking with some people yesterday, and they have a friend. They're in high school, and they have a friend who's in high school with them, and they were saying that the girl wants to be a scientist, right? And she's getting ready to join up and sign up for the military. And I was like, what? And they were saying how, oh yeah, like, and I don't think they were buying into it. They were just explaining what, because they were trying to convince her, I guess, not to do it maybe. But she was saying, oh yeah, the recruiter was telling him, you know, they'll pay for her college and blah, 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 blah. And so and I'm like, they're just lying to her. I mean, yeah, they might pay for her college, but everything else they were saying about, oh yeah, and you know, when you join, you'll just go right into officer school, and then you'll become a scientist and all this bullshit. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. You're going to show up day one, and they're going to be like, nope, you're going to be a truck driver now. Like they're not, they don't care what your dream is. Like they're just lying to get you in, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do to complain that's going to matter.
Yeah.
But you know, I just a random story, but it just,
Interesting.
it's a system that's filtering people in. You're not actually deciding what you're going to do.
It's funny because I've seen like the I was just recently watching this video of an old veteran Marine reacting to what the Marines are doing now as far as their
Posting on Twitter. Have you seen all that stuff?
no,
that's
I
going on?
haven't. They're posting on
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah, it's this whole thing going on right now.
Oh boy. No,
Twitter
but
drama.
but it was about some kind of like basic training camp that they have, and so they have to survive, you know, so many hours out in the field, and it's like weeks or something like that. And then after these weeks, they come back. When they make it back to camp, whoever's made it through this entire, you know, week or weeks or however long it is, then they become the Marines, right? And
All week or some shit.
yeah, exactly. And so this Marine was like looking at it fondly, like remembering, like, oh, I remember this. I went through this. If this is, it looks exactly the same as when I went like 50 years ago, whenever it was, right? And he's like, but man, I remember this being really tough. Not everybody made it through. And then he's watching. He's like, what the hell? They can't even navigate this course. Like it's like something simple, like jumping over a wall, like that everyone's supposed to be able to do. He's like, they're having trouble with this. Like, wait a minute, why are they all integrated? Like I'm all for integration. That's okay. You know, men and women together, that's fine if they're on the same level, if they're able to be more effective. If it's going to degrade your military force, it doesn't really make sense. Like the whole point of being in the military as a soldier or a Marine, whatever, is to kill. You are there to kill. You're there to be an effective killing machine. This is not going to make you more effective. And he was just watching and just like, I don't know, man. Like
It's like a reaction video.
yeah, he's watching them going through this training and the way they're speaking and everything. He's like, they're gonna die. Like that's basically what he was saying. It was just like that's you know,
Just like the SATs.
I just realized I got
Oh,
another
shit.
spell for you.
oh boy.
Fuck. Hold
Oh
on.
boy. And then ask if
yeah.
you can get out all your spells.
I don't know, dude. We'll
The
see.
robots are not going to be effective at telling the difference between genders initially. So they're just getting everyone used to being asked what their pronouns are, because the robots are going to have to ask you what your pronouns are so they know if you're a man or a woman. Do you
Why
understand?
why would that matter?
No, I'm just saying it's going along with
That's
what you guys
true.
were saying earlier.
Kinda
They're preparing all of us
Hmm.
so that we'll get used
You know
to
what?
that.
We had a clubhouse the other day, right? And on that specific point, right? Of like, I
Did
thought we'd
everyone
have
give you their pronouns or something?
no.
We're gonna go around the
Yes.
room and everyone give me your pronouns.
He,
And
him,
then,
zer.
and then we'll start. Do you guys see that little video? I think it was in like a modernity video from Paul Joseph Watson. You know, he links together like a bunch of crazy shit that just shows how fucking retarded society is.
Yeah.
It's like, I love those. So good. But one of them was like, it's like a new like dramatic teen show. And the guy's like, okay, I'm ready. And then he's like, okay, come meet my friends. They're all at like a picnic table. He's like,
Oh,
hi,
yeah.
my name is Samantha. I go by pronouns and like my sexuality is this, that. Great to meet you. And hi, my name's right. It's so crazy.
And
I'm half
it's-
white, half black, like all that stuff.
It's funny because like they were doing it seriously, and if you just watch that clip, you're like, is this a like in jest? Like
You can't tell if it's parody.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like it seriously
And
looks
then,
like.
and then the guy sits down and he's like, oh, I'm just overwhelmed with my social anxiety because I'm fucking autistic or something. And they're like, holy shit, man.
It's crazy. It's really
There's
crazy.
something, I don't know if you've heard of it, Drake, where it's like it's like something law or effect or something where
law of attraction.
no, it's not that one. It's one that's real. No, it's like something to do with when things get to the point where you can't tell the difference of whether it's satire or parody or not.
Oh, cool.
Like when ideas get pushed to their extreme, like when
Yeah.
when they're at the extreme, you know, because you can't tell whether something is being parodied or not.
yeah.
So you could literally be like, hey guys, I just had my surgery and now I'm a woman. I'm still kind of going in the hormone process, so that's why I still have the beard. And like, you're not sure, is this person just like poking fun? Are they joking? Or is they're
Yeah.
serious? Like,
Yeah.
or maybe they are serious.
Whoa, that's a
I mean,
really cool
perfect
concept.
example is
I know what you're talking about. I know the effect that you're talking about. I forget the name of it though, but I know what you're talking about.
That's cool that got labeled. That's really cool. That's
no, there's a name
thing.
for it. But I was
Yeah.
thinking about in the Senate thing confirmation recently with the deputy health secretary, Rachel Levine.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
This guy who became a woman,
Yes.
right? And sitting there in the Senate chambers or whatever, talking to senators.
What,
I'm
what you
like,
just said right there, this is what's going to get us removed from YouTube. Because you
Poe's
said
law.
a guy
Poe's law.
became a woman.
it is
Poe's
Poe's law. Okay, I thought that's what it was, but I didn't.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Poe's law.
POE'(s) law.
Yeah. But it's like that situation is so absurd. And I'm wondering, like, does this person, are they sitting there going like, I can't believe I'm getting away with this? Like, imagine if I went in there with like a clown costume on and I'm like, every time they ask me a question, I'm like, honk, honk. And I don't even answer any questions. And they're just like, okay, I understand, Mr. Clown. Could you elaborate? And I'm like, honk, 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 honk. And they're like, yes, I understand. Okay. And I'm just like, I'm just honking a horn and they're
Right.
pretending like they're playing along. The
Right.
whole thing is so obviously theater.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, you know that movie from Jim Carrey? It's called like Andy's Great Beyond or something.
Oh yeah. Where like he goes into that character.
So there was a guy.
He was a comedian.
Jim
um,
Carrey.
His name was Andy something. I forget, but like he was like,
Like Andy Kaufman.
yeah,
Yes,
that's it.
Andy
That's it.
Kaufman. Yes.
Yeah.
That guy is the fucking living example of what you're talking about, where he would never ever break character.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But people, that was his appeal, was like, you never know. Same thing with Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds, people love him because he's always like serious, but he's joking, but he's serious. And you never tell, then he'll tell some story about something that he did that's actually true. But like, dude, are you joking? He's like, no, I'm serious. I actually have a spitball that gum that I added to 500. I don't know, like some quirky fucking bullshit. You're like, oh, dude, he's actually serious. And other times you're like, oh, he's joking. You can't tell that's like hit the thing of his humor. The reason I'm actually bringing that up is because spell number 2. It's not actually a spell, but it's just something I was thinking about. Ottawa Public Health. Ottawa Public Health partnered with Ryan Reynolds to influence people. Ottawa Public Health. It's
That's
so fucking
interesting.
weird to me.
Is he Canadian?
It's so fucking
Yes.
weird.
Now here's another funny thing.
Oh, I
It's
didn't
like,
know that.
Now I'm
I
seeing
couldn't tell. Wow. I would never have guessed.
He seems so normal.
Yeah, I just never would have guessed. Huh?
So here's a weird fucking thing, right? Why? I know what the argument is, but it's like there are advertisements before my YouTube videos about staying home and staying safe, specifically from the point of impulsing these images of very scary shit and then being like, don't see your friends. Basically. So I'll give you an example. It's like 20 seconds long. You can fucking Google this shit. Okay. Ottawa or Ontario. Now this is like for Ontario, stay home, stay safe advertisements or public service announcement. It's literally like, it's this very dramatic scene of like a dude on a ventilator, an old dude on a ventilator being burst through the ER. It's like, and the guy's like he's like it says some shit about like coffee dates can kill, or like just when you thought it was an innocent coffee date or something like that. And it's just like, don't fuck around with your health, like Ontario public safety, public health, dude. What that creates inside of people is when, if anybody listening to this has like that family member or friend who's like, what, you're hanging out with those people? How could you do that? You're like, what are you afraid of? They don't fucking know, dude.
Yeah.
The advertisements were just playing before.
Like the
YouTube
people who are
video.
at risk or whatever.
Exactly. It's like, it just creates this thing inside of you of like, oh, coffee dates. So when I'm like, hey, I'm meeting up for coffee with a friend. It's like,
No.
Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Like, don't
That's
you
insane,
know?
man. When you really look at how things are, and you know, it's not like, I know none of us are trying to pretend like let's just get back to normal, guys. Let's just go. Everything was perfect before, and now we're not saying that. Like, it's not like we're hearkening back to some golden era of coffee dates, but it's just showing we just keep creeping and creeping toward this point where you have no more freedom, you have no reason to exist. It's like everything is just bullshit. You know, when you think of hell on earth, most people think it's like fucking nuclear explosions and like Terminators like stepping on skulls and shit. You know what I mean? But wouldn't hell on earth be like you just sit at home in a room and you have no connection to the outside world and you just sit there and you're just surviving?
Yeah, I mean,
Like that's how most people experience hell.
Off government money, and like all the information you get is like from fucking social media, like the internet.
And I mean that's another huge part. It's hard to say what level it's coordinated and you don't know, but that's such an obvious outflow of it is everyone stays at home. So now you live in a virtual reality where you're told what the outside world is. You don't even
That's
go
so
outside
smart.
and you're told like what's going on.
That's so
you
smart
know?
to describe that as living in virtual reality,
yeah,
Well, that's what it is.
yeah,
right?
That's what
It's like
social media is.
you have like your hub, and from your hub, you don't leave your hub. You just connect to the world from your hub, and then you experience the world.
How are people going to form relationships? I'm talking about like get married and so forth.
Oh,
If they're even afraid to go on a coffee date,
spells.
you know,
yeah.
like just look at
Combined with the social anxiety already,
just
that
a
people can't even talk to people.
small percentage difference in people's behavior in that area will totally decimate population growth or stability. Or you know, you look at China, for example, and the problems they have because of the one-child policy.
yeah,
Just because of one little thing, which was people starting to value, oh, I want to have a boy versus a girl because of their cultural traditions or whatever.
right.
I got a
Right.
story for that right there. Okay.
Spell it.
Hang on, before you do,
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna steal another. No,
You got dispelled.
Oh no. Dude.
when you said before that you didn't know Ryan Reynolds was Canadian, you know what triggered in my mind? It's like, oh, Canadian actors, like they're good ones, they're really good at acting American. Like,
That's racist. I think.
hey,
I don't know.
we are the master race.
I don't know where we draw the line.
Well, Drake can't be racist.
It's
Yeah, but he
physically
has
impossible.
white privilege. So.
Was it a racist of me to assume that you can't be racist?
Did you just assume my race?
Did you guys see that thing? It was like, oh, it was that thing from that private school that I sent, the $46,000 a year private school.
Yeah, Cameron, we don't actually look at the stuff you send us. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But it said in there like, you don't use it said words we don't use anymore, and one of them was colored people. And first of all, who the fuck is saying that anymore? Honestly, I don't even think anyone in my generation ever fucking said it, right?
I think maybe in the UK they might still say something like that.
Well, like in South Africa, they said colored people,
Okay, yeah.
but it was for like Indians.
Oh, okay, that makes
It
sense.
wasn't for black. You
Yeah.
had black, you had colored, and you had white. Anyways,
Oh, wait, I gotta make a list of my spells, dude.
You're not a color.
anyways, it said we don't say, you know, colored people, no. People of color, yes.
Fuck.
Okay, I know.
That's crazy.
But it said because it's people-centered language. Meaning
Okay.
it's like you're saying people of color instead of colored people. So you put it
So the focus is
person
about
first.
okay.
Which
rather than-
okay, I get it. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
You got me.
But
there.
then like
close.
but like right above that in a different section, it was saying you don't say Caucasian. You just say white.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say like Asian
People
cock or
centered.
something. I
You
thought
say
Asian cock.
you don't say Caucasian, you say white because white better describes people of European ancestry.
What?
Well, that's a double standard.
Like it doesn't say people of whiteness or some shit like that. It was just white. So, you know, and it's funny because they tried to hit at the self-esteem of people by going, well, your white fragility is showing. And it's like, I don't care about white, black, the fact that I'm apparently white, whatever you want to call it. It's the logic behind it. That's the problem. if people are not able to see through that, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Even if the situation was reversed, it's still a problem if you can't see the logic behind that.
So you know how Coke came out with this like be less white, or they were exposed for putting
Did you see what John Stiffen said? I posted about that. He goes, I bet a white person came up with this.
for sure. For sure. But it's so funny because like I was watching this some black YouTuber he was like, so I've been going through some of my comments and someone said, why am I so racist? And I realized like, well, first I thought, can I be racist? Because I'm black. But then I realized, nope, you're right. So I decided to take this white fragility training that they had the Coca-Cola employees go through. And he said, at first I thought it was bullshit because when I saw those tweets, I thought that can't be real. That can't possibly be real, but it is. And look, here's those slides that they showed. And like, he shows that like he actually went through it and he's like, so when they were saying, be less arrogant,
Oh, was this the ruined Leon?
I
Was
don't,
this ruined Leon or somebody else?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, I'm just wondering
what his name is. Right.
Okay.
But he's like, they said, be less arrogant, be believing, listen, all that. He's like, I know some guys from the hood who are arrogant motherfuckers. They need to take this training too. They need to be less white. Right? He's like, basically, and it was funny because
the one I saw, the guy was like, believing of what? Be less believing of what? What do we want them to believe less of? And he was like taking the whole thing apart. It was so ridiculous.
Yeah. So but basically, like,
it was like, no, my favorite one was ignorant and also being certain.
Yeah. You're being ignorant
and
you're
also
certain.
being certain.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Those are opposites.
what the fuck? Like, so you can't be ignorant, but you also can't be certain.
T-Mobile.
Okay.
T-Mobile. I don't know if it's real or not, but there's like a checklist of that you have to like acknowledge your whiteness, and one of them's like, you know, like I don't get questioned on, you know, or like I don't have like my body associated with my skin color, like because black girls have like big booty or something like that.
Oh,
Or like
well, white girls have
it's
flat
like
booties.
Oh,
So-
but there's also that, what's it called? I don't remember. Anyways,
but isn't that like a function of genetics? Like what?
wait, the checklist. Maylat was like, I'm gonna take this check. Maylat's black, right? She's for those of you who don't know. She's like, I'm gonna take this checklist. She's like, man, I got so much white privilege, you know, because the fucking questions are so stupid.
Yeah.
They're so stupid, and they have to like.
It's
take
like
it every day.
I can easily spend time with people of my own race.
Oh, one of them
Like
was
I can walk out the door and see people of my race easily, or some, shit like that. It's
exactly.
Like,
That was
I
exactly
can
it.
choose to be around whatever. And if you
Yeah.
literally just changed everything to black, you're describing somebody in fucking Nigeria.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
give me it. And there's billionaires and people of all different levels there. It's like, give me a break.
Hmm.
But you see, it's so odd. It's funny going back to what we were talking about originally about the pictures.
Yep.
Isn't
Oh,
just getting
shit.
everybody to focus on the picture aspect of reality instead of actual, like,
Exactly.
does
And then-
everyone have what they need, like basic level shit?
Exactly. And then identifying yourself as that way. And so that's
It's more
the-
important for me to convince you that you're racist than it is to actually just make sure everybody gets what they get what
I
they
have to
need.
start blowing my spells. Or I'm going to I'm gonna puke. Okay.
Go.
So let's be clear on that. Let's go back to the Android thing about they're gonna be able to do the voice before they get the jaw functionality, being able to coordinate with the sound. It's like they're just gonna first come out with robots that are just like this. Right. It's just gonna be flat mouth, and maybe
It's like
just
a
like
mask.
like Bender, the robot from Futurama. It's just
Yeah.
like a
Like a squiggly line, like
It's like the
um,
sound bite is on their mouth.
Yeah, it'll be like a
audio.
screen that's just
Yeah.
like
Right. Exactly.
or like the computer from SpongeBob.
Yes.
SpongeBob, right? Exactly. Plankton's like wife or whatever.
Exactly. What were you saying, Cameron? Oh, okay.
I don't know.
All right.
What did you say?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. You just said like one word, but the point is, yes. To be clear, like that it seems like, well, that's what we're doing with masks. It's like, so you cannot distinguish between the android or the robot and the person. So
Mhm.
clarify that. What Cameron was saying about, dude, if you affect like 1% of men and women's ability to mate, it's gonna this is gonna deeply affect the population and things like
And
that.
this is affecting everybody. So
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah.
Right. And so we see that happening all the time. The way me and Maylad actually met was through soccer, our soccer team. Okay, so we resumed playing soccer about like a couple weeks ago. Lockdown stopped. Let me tell you something. Guess what you have to wear on the sidelines?
A mask?
And also, they have hula hoops that are on the ground that are 6 feet apart that they want you to stand in.
What
But you
the
can
fuck?
slide
Yeah,
tackle people.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You can man mark, get up in them. What else? Oh, yeah, wait. Hold on. In the men's league, you're allowed to do headers. In the co-ed league, right? Men and women, you can't do headers.
Any reason?
Any reason? That's funny. That's cute, trick. So
It's a legitimate question.
Any reason?
no, dude. Like, I was like, oh, maybe it's different across leagues.
Well,
Like,
women
you know,
have the advantage because they give more head.
See? Now you're thinking.
but there's a lot of gays. They could give
Playing
that too,
soccer.
dude. Right? Exactly.
Is that
I
a sport that a
remember.
lot of gay people play? Soccer?
Soccer is pretty
I don't know.
gay.
I don't know. No, actually,
I did play soccer
think-
when I was younger.
there
I
you
knew
go.
it.
Now we
So-
have our answer. Okay. So wait, hold on. Don't
I
stop
saw
thinking,
something
Cameron.
saying that soccer was invented in China.
I wouldn't know. I honestly.
But I didn't know that before. And I don't know if it's true, but I'm
Have
like,
you seen
it's
Shaolin
communist.
Soccer before? The movie?
Holy shit, yes.
That's what created
The
it.
movie's terrible, but if you watch the clips, it's funny.
They're fun. It's funny.
Like the
Uh-huh.
one where that dude's
Yeah.
like spinning around, kicking the ball
Kicking the
up,
ball,
right?
yeah,
And then the guy
yeah.
goes boom and does the header and like shoots it in the goal. Like it's so insane.
Um,
It is. It's like that's not even kung fu. That's just acrobatics. Like what are you doing?
Shaolin Soccer or whatever.
It's insane.
So, anyways, that's when the social time would happen, right? And that's where team bonding and all that shit. And then we would go to a
During the headers.
no.
Hey, how was your day today? Oh, I'll get back to you.
On the sideline and you sit and you talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
shit, right? Like laughs, whatever. Where it's like, yeah, you can do everything normal on the field except for the headers, but you could fucking jostle up against people, all that shit, but on the sideline, not allowed. So the way we got talking is when we had like a little year-end party, we all went to a restaurant.
Oh.
Can't do that shit anymore. That's when I got to know her, and I was like, oh damn, she wants to change at some level, and that's where we got connected, right? And we're like, okay, let's build a relationship. So point is, that's fucking gone, dude. And then the coffee dates and all that shit, it's like, oh wow, now that's out the window. Like the means and being able to do that is like being like evaporated, right? And then you have this generation of children who are going to be totally broken because their babysitter. You know, it's like not best to like have like a babysitter, but now it's like the babysitter just puts them on a tablet. So it's like their tablet is the babysitter, it's the teacher, it's the fucking everything. It's their parents, it's everything. So who's teaching them? Fucking YouTube people. And YouTube people are
Logan Paul.
YouTube
Right.
people have
B.
community guidelines that they have to abide by.
right. But WAP doesn't get taken down.
Right.
That doesn't violate our guidelines.
Wet ass pussy does not violate the YouTube community guidelines.
And that's monetized as well. So
Not bad, buddy. Oh God, buddy. So
But
Okay.
demanding free and fair elections can't allow this.
hey,
don't
you're
talk about
outta
that
here.
shit.
You're out of here.
So shit is crazy. Shit is bonkers. Bringing it way back to when we were talking about like NFTs and shit. I forgot like half the spells in between, but it's okay.
Give me some more.
So just to really just lay it out in like a really linear fashion, it's like before we would use this physical thing to control people called gold. That's what money was based off of. The money could be traded for gold. Then we came off the gold standard, and that was the reflection of being another step removed from reality. Before you would have to trade a fucking chicken for a piece of meat or some shit.
That's an interesting trade there.
Seems like a dumb trade, but okay.
Before you'd have, I was thinking of eggs. Guys.
I got
Jesus,
this
like an
piece
egg
of meat
producer.
here. Oh, I'll give it to you for 30 chickens. You're like, okay.
I was thinking of beef. See, my vocabulary sucks. But I trade you some eggs for some meat. Huh? That's what I meant.
Why don't we
Okay.
trade?
Okay,
I'll
I'll
allow it.
get exactly, but I'll trade you. I'll fucking build you a house if you give me 4 fucking cows. How about
I'll
that?
give you some eggs for some milk. How about that? Like that makes more
Oh
sense.
man, I was reading. I think it was.
Yeah,
that
but there
How
are
to Get
vegans
Rich
on
book.
this, Drake.
Hold on. Check
I'm
this
just
out.
kidding.
Check this out. I was
Okay.
reading this. It was this How to Get Rich book, I think. Let me just check real quick. But he was talking about that. Oh, I gotta find it. I think it was this one.
Cameron.
There it is. Here it is. I found it.
Oh shit! Yeah.
He was talking about.
Spell us.
I don't remember what the context is. Popular delusions. He said, "Paper money itself is an illusion."
Say it again.
Yeah, I'll just read this part real quick. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
He said,
Story
"You cannot
time.
get rich. You cannot get rich all on your own. No one can. You have to create or work within the right environment. Humans are a cooperative if argumentative race. If you were to be boycotted by your immediate neighbors, if nobody would meet with you or take your instructions or sell you anything or buy anything from you, you would never make money. You cannot do it on your own. Getting rich is mostly a sleight of hand. But if you acquire no audience but a mirror, then there is no illusion with which to get rich."
Oh,
And this is interesting. He said, "Paper money itself is an illusion. It is a promise from a man you will never meet, who works for a bank you will probably never enter, who reports to a government you do not control. A 50-pound note or a $100 bill is just a piece of paper with some fancy printing on both sides of it. And what is a credit card but a small rectangle of plastic with which you promise to buy a watch, a car, a yacht, or even a house? When you bank or spend paper money or use a credit card, you do so as part of a collective illusion. You already subscribe to what Charles Mackay wrote, once rightly called a popular delusion or the madness of crowds. You cannot use such devices alone. Others must believe in them equally for the magic to function." And this is the part that I was thinking of. When enough people share a short-lived delusion, vast sums of money can be acquired overnight. The tulip mania in Holland in the mid-17th century was such a time. Tulips had been imported into Holland for 40 years before the madness hit. By 1635, so they had been bringing tulips in all the time, no big deal, right? But then by 1365, a single tulip bulb was swapped for a collection of valuable articles, which included the following: 4 tons of wheat, 8 tons of rye, a bed, 4 oxen, 8 pigs, a suit of clothes, 2 caskets of wine, 4 tons of beer, 2 tons of butter, 1,000 pounds of cheese, and a silver drinking cup.
1,000 pounds of cheese.
Fuck.
All of that for one single bulb. And then he said,
That was some salesman.
fortunes. No, it was the hype. It was the market. It wasn't, it was the market. And he said fortunes were lost or made or lost, especially the latter, when the music stopped. Within a few years of that point, 1635, a tulip bulb was worth less than $1 in today's money. So it went within 4 years. That was what a tulip bulb was worth to nothing, just because people were hyping up. It's just like with the NFTs and everything, right? Same thing. Like you have these NFTs that are, I mean, you see this shit. Like, did we talk about this? No, I think Katie was on last time, right? But
Do you see this shit?
we were talking about it at some point together or something.
Yeah,
right?
like in a group chat or
But
something.
it's like the crypto punks and all these things.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're being bid on for like $1 million for one of these, and it's like a 24 by 24 fucking bitmap image. You know what I mean? Like nothing special about it whatsoever. It's the concept behind it.
Mhm.
And I was even talking to somebody who is into all that kind of stuff, right? And they were showing me crypto kitties, which I hadn't seen before, right? And they were telling me all about the crypto kitties and how they work, and there's a limited number and they'll never make any more and all this stuff and the whole concept behind it. And then I realized, like, as he made it click for me, it's the same thing as Pokemon cards. You remember Magic the Gathering, all that kind of stuff, but specifically the Pokemon, like imagine like the Charizard card or whatever, right? And I think Alex Becker talked about this. Right?
Yeah. The holographic Charizard. Yeah.
But it's like, how do you make those physically limited in a digital format? Is you use the crypto to do all that stuff, right? But what is it actually worth?
Nothing. Like it can't.
It's like,
actually
well,
do
whatever
anything.
somebody will pay for it, I guess.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then what is the currency that you're paying for it worth?
whatever somebody deems that's worth.
But what happens in a world where literally human beings don't produce jack shit? And it's literally all just produced by machines, automated.
Yeah.
Like that's a big fucking problem that's coming. But back to your gold example. As you were spelling. As it's like okay.
That what you're talking about will be the culmination of this timeline.
Explain.
So
Everybody swapping Pokemon cards in the apocalypse.
It's like it used to be like a real exchange of value.
Hold on. Are you trying to say when people were using gold?
No, like, hey, I don't have a bed, but I do have chickens. And I see you're a bed maker. So can I have a bed and I'll give you chickens because you don't have chickens?
When was it actually like that?
I don't fucking know, dude.
I'm wondering. I'm like, I studied history in school. I went to a private school, and I'm thinking, when was the part where actually everything was bartering?
I don't know if everything.
Did that ever actually, except for like these isolated incidences like Jamestown or some bullshit? Like, when was there like actual civilizations built on everyone just bartered? Did that
We're talking
ever
about
happen?
Jonestown, are we? Jonestown?
Yes.
Jamestown.
One of my favorite periods of history.
Yes.
No.
Actually,
See,
one of my favorite bands is called the Brian Jonestown Massacre.
Oh, okay, nice.
Brian Jones was one of the first Rolling Stones, or one of the original Rolling Stones.
oh, shit.
Oh, I
Pretty
didn't
cool
know.
name. It's a pretty cool name.
Okay. As far as like the bartering thing goes, like I think I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up while we're talking. Like, when,
like-
when
in, like,
was there
native-
like an entire?
I'm thinking like in native or indigenous peoples, they might have made some beads and shit like that and traded that kind of shit. I don't know.
Somebody said I was looking it up online. The barter system. It's not just for Mesopotamia anymore. Like, dude, if you have to go back to fucking Mesopotamia,
Hey,
holy crap!
worked at one point. Point is, they came up with a medium of exchange called seashells or whatever the fuck they initially used. And then it became gold because everybody placed value on it. Like you said, it's like a collective agreement.
Native Americans,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
but why did they ever accept money from like or gold or anything? Or what did they accept from the?
They accepted
European
rifles.
people? Ah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So the trades,
But even that though
Mhm.
is still based on survival.
of course, all of it's
Like,
fucking
that's the
based on
starting
survival.
point. Like,
Yeah.
survival is the starting point.
But what about these people who are like, oh, we need to get back to the gold standard? That's the real store of value. Gold is actually valuable.
No, it's not.
Like, how is it valuable? Like, if you're fucking dying, like, it's not. It's because it's limited. We've already talked about this. Jesus
Right.
Christ, we're just repeating ourselves now.
Yeah.
So my point is, if you just look at the fucking so if I just what Cameron's talking about how they're just like, okay, the only reason why this is valuable is because we're just going to artificially limit it because that's the only thing that makes things valuable. They're just like writing it in code and being like, look, we're not going to make anymore, so therefore you should want it. It's like that should tell you that this world doesn't actually have lack. It's just an artificial idea of lack that we're all being like, okay, cool, because there's not much of it. Like I want it. That's why I want the fucking shoes off Kanye's feet because there's only those pair of shoes,
Right.
and I don't want the exact same shoes that are brand new. I want the used one off of Kanye's feet
Right.
with the
Right.
smell and everything.
Right.
I want the fucking mud that he stepped in last week. You know what I mean? Like some fucking really limited, unique things. And Rebecca Dalmas, she says, because they're focused on singularities. It's like the one unique point, so you can be special. So now let me bring it back to the currency. Okay. The way people used to get stuff is by giving stuff and getting stuff, and then it became gold, where it became this like exchange or like a medium between how much your fucking cattle is worth and how much my bed is worth. So then we'll just exchange that thing. So if you don't need cattle, you can still accept this gold from me and I'll give you this bed. So then you can use that gold to get what you want. Right. And then, so then we got money that was much more divisible because it's just paper, right? And coins. So it's much more easier. You don't have to like cut up fucking gold. Like, what if you have a gold bar, but you only want to buy like a bag of bread? It's like, oh, that's a lot of fucking gold. So you just have to take a bunch of shit from that person, but blah, 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 blah. Basically, the coming off of the gold standard, I didn't understand it. I didn't look into it, but in terms of an existential symbol, it was us getting further removed from reality of what is here and what's physical, where everything became digital. Credit cards, plastic. That's what coronavirus is accelerating, is no more cash. Because although it's in droplets and you have to breathe it in, it's also on your hands and in the money and all that stuff.
Yeah. And it's funny now that you lay it out like this, it's really clear that, oh, we're actually, this has been the projection or the trajectory the entire time.
Hell yeah, baby.
And so we're continuing on in this direction until
And
the
let
point.
me tell you something.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell
Okay.
me. I want to hear. I want to fucking hear.
So the manifestation of greed in the human being is the corporation. The corporation is the same thing as a human being.
Corporation, corp,
Body,
Body.
right? It's just like a robot, except they only have one purpose. It's to make money. Period. Not make money and do good for the world. Because public corporations, they have these things called shareholders. And when they have public shareholders after they go through an IPO, they have one purpose
profit.
for the shareholders.
Yeah.
Profit, this is specific, profit for the shareholders. That means, and I've said this before, but that means that if you have to choose between harming the human being and destroying the planet and not making a profit for your shareholders, and making a profit for your shareholders, or doing what's best for the human being and supporting the planet to grow and making sure people and children can eat and all that stuff, but not making a profit for the shareholders, guess which one's illegal? Illegal. The second one.
Oh, you
The
told
second
us.
one's illegal. All right. We're just moving along here before I, like, you know,
Before I
like
get
when you
interrupted again.
when you finish too quickly.
Nope. I don't know about that.
Tell us more.
So the point is, it's like the manifestation of greed, right? Now let's go deeper into the corporation point. So you get IPO, or like the camera's talking about, we're all just growth. Fuck everything else. Doesn't matter about the planet. Doesn't matter if it's like good for our health. Let's just fucking grow because more profit, more survival. We can survive harder. Cameron was saying earlier, they could just survive harder. What does that mean? It's like they could just survive harder, right? Drake's got to go. Drake's gonna be right back.
Just go.
So Cameron, you with me so far, dude? I know
Yeah.
you're looking some stuff up. Okay. So I know it's obvious stuff, but to put it together in such a linear fashion, you know, right? This is where
Yeah.
the spells come in. So
Yeah.
corporations, yeah? Corporations, the manifestation of greed, can now be profited upon through the buying and selling of ownership of that corporation. What is that called? Stocks. Shares.
Stocks. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so we're so fucking far removed from society that we went off the gold into currency. And then we have these manifestations that are only designed for this thing that's not even real. It's just figures. And then off that thing that's designed to do that, you're now trading. And if on the shares, so you buy shares of a company, and the more greedy the company is, the more money you make. That's shares or equities market. You're buying ownership in something. You own some of it. So you can buy that and sell that. So that's already like fucking so many degrees removed from reality.
Mhm.
It's like you don't even have to do anything anymore. Right? And that's how these rich people make money. And then you have this thing called the derivatives market. What is a derivative? Tell the people.
Well, it's the limit as x approaches infinity. Oh, no, sorry, not calculus.
Derivative, something that comes from something,
Yeah.
right? You derive something. You derive water from the water spring, whatever. So you have the derivatives market. Literally, you can bet.
There we go.
You can buy and sell contracts on the ownership of a not real entity that only exists to get this not real thing called legal tender money. That's not based on anything physical. We're so fucking far in our mind, it's crazy. We're so far removed from society, right? But that's what the derivatives market is. And you can buy and sell contracts based on contracts of ownership, based on corporations that are, the purpose of them is to get this thing that's not real. Crazy. And then you make this new level of currency that is literally nothing, called cryptocurrency.
And pretend that it's not centralized.
Right. Pretend like you don't have to go across this medium of exchange that is now moderated by big ass fucking corporations. Hey, technically speaking, if I had some Bitcoin and Drake had some Bitcoin, I can like meet up with him and give him the fucking big, you know what I mean? Like you and me directly can exchange. But in terms of being able to do it on any level that's actually equal to or being able to replace current legal tender.
But if I wanted to use that Bitcoin, like
exactly outside of our closed market of me, Drake, and Cameron, if we wanted to actually get value outside of just the three of us, yeah, it's kind of centralized.
But I have a question real quick. Like, how do you get
dude.
rich in Bitcoin?
You just fucking
you
don't do
literally
anything.
just buy Bitcoin and then sell the Bitcoin for dollars.
So hold on. There's also a derivatives market or a futures market on Bitcoin where now you can, not now, but it's been around, just to keep going with that story of you can bet on whether it's going to go up or down.
Yeah.
It's called options, right?
Yeah.
On this thing that doesn't fucking.
But how do you get rich in it where you're not literally just doing any of that stuff, which is the same shit everyone's doing with stuff that's not Bitcoin?
Buy stuff, sell stuff, other stuff, and get.
So
and
what is it about Bitcoin itself that's any different than anything else?
Nothing.
Other than the point of it not being necessarily trackable, all that kind of stuff, like those other points. But the actual getting rich on it is just like your starting point of just trying to make money and get rich in the system. And what you did to get there didn't add any value. Because if the value is, like some people claim, well, no, we want everyone to adopt this technology. But then if ever we did that, then how would you be rich anymore?
Right.
Because wouldn't there still be poor people with Bitcoin? Wouldn't there be people who are poor in Bitcoin? How would that help them at all?
Well,
the government couldn't track their transactions. Like, for what? Their fucking Netflix payments? Like, what?
They already don't have bank accounts.
They already aren't
there's
doing
already 3
anything
billion
anyways.
people.
How
Right,
is it
yeah.
changing anything?
There's also already 3 billion people who don't have bank accounts. So no one's
Really?
tracking those transactions. Yeah,
That's crazy.
it is crazy. It's at least 1 billion. I'm pretty sure it's 3 billion. So with that point, right, of
I'm just thinking of how many people would not benefit from a bank account. Like just them owning a bank account would mean nothing to them at all because there's nothing to put in it. As it's like,
Did you guys hear Alex Jones's theory about Ghislaine Maxwell and
yeah, Jeffrey Epstein,
Yeah.
that Ghislaine was the one who was actually running the operation,
she's the actual head person?
and Epstein was just the front man.
Or he's just like the guy. It's like what you're thinking is her role is actually his role.
Yeah. Where
It's reversed.
It's super interesting.
That actually makes more sense.
It does. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Because if you look at his history, he was like a school teacher, and then it's like it doesn't even make sense like how he came out of nowhere.
And what's
But
that?
she has connections to all kinds of shit.
What's the guy, Brett Weinstein, who's the mathematician, right? He was saying, or not mathematician, but
university?
like,
Oh, he's the one who groped all those young actresses, right? Or no, that's Harvey Weinstein.
that's Harvey. That's Harvey.
Got it.
Brett
Brett
Weinstein.
Weinstein's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
he's really cool.
But like I think he was an economics professor or something to that effect, right?
Okay.
Knows numbers very well. He was saying on somebody's podcast that if you listen to Jeffrey Epstein, like if you like were to actually talk numbers with him and everything, you could tell that he doesn't actually know what the fuck he's talking about. Like, because his role was supposed to be like this high finance banker kind of guy who's like, oh yeah, I can get you the deals, with JP Morgan or whatever company he represented. But like, if you were to actually have a conversation with him, he was like, that guy did not know what the fuck he was talking about. There was no way that he'd have that position at all,
Brett Weinstein, though. Weinstein.
I think probably listening to him in interviews and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I don't know.
Maybe he
Just
just
a
knows people
curiosity
who've
point.
talked to him and
Yeah.
stuff.
It
Maybe.
was a curiosity point.
Yeah. I don't know.
Irrelevant.
Or maybe
That's just really
maybe
fascinating.
he was there. He was like, oh, I see what's going on.
He's like, no, dude, I swear, I was fucking a kid, and like,
yeah, and having a conversation with this guy, and he's like, well, no, that interview with Alex Jones was pretty cool. The Flagrant 2, that one,
Yeah.
that was really good actually. I
I
like
was
how
just trying to buy time for Asif to figure out his spell.
dude, no, that was before I fucking forgot my spell, dude. Or was it? I don't remember. But anyways, so back to the spells. Let me just fucking sum it all up. What does everybody focus on? How many people listening to this podcast right now, how many people have reached out to you on Facebook trying to sell you on crypto trading?
every African I know.
But apart from Africans, there's a bunch of white people doing it. Everybody.
Dude, I heard this really cool point this guy made. He was like, if somebody's selling you on how easy it is to make money in some market and everything, it's already not a good opportunity. Like, and Alex Becker was saying the same thing. Like, you don't buy it now. He's like, if you're buying Bitcoin, you're already buying it way up here. The problem is it can go down. You don't know where the ceiling is, right?
Mhm.
And they were making this point of, because it was this video about this guy who he has a channel where he goes into like all these like what's the word I'm looking for? Gurus, like fake
CoffeeZilla.
gurus. CoffeeZilla, yeah, it's CoffeeZilla. Talking about like fake gurus, like your Tai Lopez and all these kind of things, right?
Oh, okay.
And he like kind of like goes in and like talks shit about him and tries to like show their scam and all this stuff. But he was doing this one video about this girl who was offering a course on how to get rich by building an OnlyFans subscription base, right? And she was like, you never have to get naked, right? And it was just like he was just showing like the actual content of the course. It was like day 1, 2 minutes, how to set up an OnlyFans account. Next one, how to set up your profile. And there was never any actual what is the actual secret that I'm sharing. It was just kind of like a tutorial video on how to set up OnlyFans, basically, right?
Yeah.
And he showed the whole bullshit about it. And it was a funny video, but he made this point of like, from within like a several months period or a year or something like that, they went from like 100,000 OnlyFans, I don't know what they're called, like the content
Fans?
creators, I guess.
Oh, okay.
The people who create the content, from like 100,000 to 1 million in like a year. And he's like, when you see the people selling the courses about how to get rich doing it, you know it's already a bad opportunity, because otherwise they would just be getting rich doing it.
Yeah.
Why are they selling the courses?
At the beginning, it was like fucking great way for women to make money. Now it's like they're still like, now it's like fuck, like there's such an abundance of people selling naked
Did you
pictures.
just say it was a great way for women to make money?
As in they could make money.
It's not a great way.
Great from the perspective of easy.
That was just his inner feminist coming out.
I think you mean a lucrative.
It was an empowered way for women to show their buttholes and receive cash.
But now it's like they're starving off of it. It's no longer like a lucrative opportunity to bring in the dollar bills. So let me keep going with this fucking timeline.
When I was young and I had my proclivities, we'll say.
Okay.
We met. I met your mother on a OnlyFans on her OnlyFans. account.
Yeah.
Imagine.
I was the 4th subscriber.
Oh man, imagine.
Did you
Only
see that
4
one
other
about that?
people before me had seen your mother.
Did you see that one about the woman who was doing the OnlyFans account and then her kids got like kicked out of their private school or something?
Oh shit.
No.
I didn't actually watch the video. I just saw the thumbnail, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. But the
Why was the
sucky part is
principal
that
watching her?
why was the mom doing a fucking OnlyFans account? OnlyFans is the manifestation of the fact that men are fucking weak. Do you
Mm.
understand?
Yeah.
That wouldn't have existed in the 50s.
Yeah. And there's this other thing called sugar babies. You guys know sugar babies?
Like for sugar daddies? Sugar
It's like
daddies
there's
that
an
were sugar
app.
babies?
I think it's an app or a site
Oh, there's
where
an app for it?
where the dude just presents, hey, I'm allowing a $500 allowance per week, and don't need sex, just need companionship and hugs. This
That
one,
guy's wasting
Hugs,
his money.
hug my
I'll give-
penis.
I'll give
Hug my
$2,000
penis vigorously.
I'll give
Yeah.
$2,000 a week, like sex, dates, all that stuff. And then the women are on the other side, and it's like, yeah, I like that one, don't like that one. That's becoming a source of income. So let me fucking put it together, okay? I know you guys are thinking a lot of shit. Like, I know you guys have a lot of thoughts. But just to follow on the timeline.
I wasn't sure if you were talking to me.
You can't just drop sugar babies on us and then switch the subject.
I know. I want you guys to get fucking like thought blue balls too. So I'm just playing around. But it's just interesting to see the culmination of everything that's going on, because you really do see what Drake started this by saying, and maybe it's going to be before we fucking decide what the start of the podcast is.
Oh, have we started?
What do you guys want to talk about? So it's like it's the progression of our starting point being ego, being self-interest only, being separation. It's just me. I just want what I want. It's like you no longer have to do anything fucking real to get anything. You no longer have to give anything real to get anything. It's become the height of superficiality, the height that I don't know what the peak is. We're gonna find out. If we already hit it, probably not, definitely not. But like we're culminating to this point of literally there's no more fucking meaning. There's no more substance. There's no more physical, real shit involved, because you have shit like NFTs and futures trading on crypto, and then NFCs. Now the one way you can make money is you fucking buy the right to someone's tweet. Like what?
It's basically we're getting to the point where we're so separated from reality that the only thing that's really valuable is our minds, which is ridiculous when you think of actual reality, because there's everything else. It's a very limited way of looking at your life and what's actually valuable and reality.
That's pulling people's attention to think that it's valuable to, like, there's some kind of status symbol within buying a fucking tweet.
Well, if you think about it right now, people already believe that their mind is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
They already believe that their value is within their mind. And they already believe their feelings and emotions. And I know this is definitely going to trigger some people. They believe their feelings and emotions are valid and valuable, and the experiences that they've had are valuable as well, because that is how they identify themselves, as opposed to being able to be present here with all of life and doing what is best. No, I can't do what's best because something happened to me long ago in my past, and I'm still broken up about that, or whatever the case is. And I understand that. I'm not discounting that people go through traumas, like people definitely go through some very hard times and experiences, but that doesn't justify then not creating a world where that doesn't happen any longer, and you not taking the responsibility to do it. If you are sulking in a corner or depressed or angry or whatever, wherever you are on the spectrum of feelings and emotions, you could be on the other side where you're blissfully happy and all this great stuff, you know, because you've gotten everything taken care of for you. That does not justify not taking the responsibility for the world that we are creating, because the direction that we're going is, as you've clearly shown, okay, we went from I trade you this thing for that thing, and then okay, well, you don't need this thing, well, I'll give you something else. Okay, well, now we have gold. Okay, now we're removed from the gold standard. Okay, now we have this invisible fake currency that's just exists in our computers. Let me give you this plastic card. It's like we're going further and further away from real value in real life. And the further that we get from that real value in real life, what we're creating as a whole, as humanity, as society, is going to be us completely removed from the reality. We are not even going to exist at all, period, because we keep separating ourselves further and further from that. It's like we're literally trying to escape. And you know, the physical or the existential symbol, as you were calling it before, is like us sending fucking shit to Mars. like we're literally trying to leave this earth, right?
Like, imagine that's the end of the human race. We all just like, the people here die and the other people go off the fucking wherever, and then that's the end. Then we have to restart all over again.
Yeah. And then it's like that movie, The Martian, like everyone ends up on Mars and then we don't fucking know how to make potatoes. So we all fucking die on Mars.
Is that how the movie ends?
No, that's not how it ends.
I was like, I do not remember that part.
but like he's trying to make potatoes, right? And then like his greenhouse blows up and shit like that. Anyway, like, but
so let me fucking connect some dots here.
Go ahead.
It's like you have like, okay, one of the incentives of being a good person, your carbon footprint for climate change. It's like you have like these levels of the things that you can do to reduce climate change.
But
like,
how fucking removed from reality is that though?
what do you mean?
Like, okay, all right. You're saying being a good person.
I should have fucking shoved that back into your blue ball like spell fingers. I saw it building up inside of me. I should have pushed it.
You can't stop me.
I know.
You can't stop
beast,
this flow.
dog. You're fucking beast, Drake. DJ Dwakey. God
But
damn.
okay, so
I started calling him DJ Dwakey because his mom calls him DJ. So somebody's in the South
Are you about to
Prefected
dox us?
yeah. What's going on? What's going on here?
Everybody chill. It was on the
Keep
South
my mom's
Prefected
name
hangout.
out of this.
It was on the South Prefected hangout, and she was saying DJ, and people were like, nobody knows. So Drake's like, nobody knows who DJ is. And I put like DJ equals Drake. I put DJ equals Dwakey. Some people call him DJ Dwakey. So that's him. What were you gonna say?
So-
Blue
About
ball.
climate change
I'm
being
fucking blue ball. Just fucking no, climate change.
being so
uh,
far removed from reality.
Yeah. Okay. So that being the indicator of if you're a good person or not is
If I help you remember your spell so that you can release it, does that mean like I helped you release your balls?
if you help Jack on the horse, would you help him back off the horse? So with that being the indicator of whether you're a good person or not, your carbon footprint, like imagine putting a number to how much carbon you put out today, this week, this month, etc. Right. And we see this with like, I have apps on my phone where if I'm in New York or whatever, and I take the subway or whatever, and like, I'm just asking for quick directions, at the end of the app, it'll tell me, here's how much you reduced your carbon footprint. You know, you didn't use a
Really?
bus, you didn't, like, and so you didn't use a car. And so all this amounted to,
Here's how you did today. You didn't move. Great work.
right, exactly. Right. And so if that becomes the standard indicator of, are you doing well in life or not? Are you a good person or not? Oh, look at how much carbon you spent. Shame on you, right? You know, for one, none of the billionaires are reducing their carbon footprint at all. Not one single iota. There's no such thing as fucking reduction at all for them. because they're still going to be putting out the same amount of carbon. Now they may plant some trees, they may do some other shit, whatever.
For sustainable jet fuel.
What? Sustainable jet?
Bill Gates.
That's why he bought all that land so he can grow soybean to fuel his jets.
How is that sustainable?
That's a joke.
How
right?
is that sustainable though?
Cameron,
like-
you're joking, right? Just confirm with me real quick.
Well, he did buy all that land, but yeah, I'm sure I'm joking about why.
Okay.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
I don't know.
I
literally
think what
don't
it
know
is
the
is
fucking
they
point.
want all of us to not use a lot of energy so they can use all the energy to run their fucking AI that's gonna like do all
It's
the
gonna
shit
require
that they
a lot
want
of
to do.
computing power for
Right.
sure.
But it,
A
like,
lot of NFTs.
there's going to be a lot of people who actually believe, like I know people who actually believe I didn't buy a plastic bottle today, and so I'm doing good in the world. It's like, no, that's not enough. Sure, it's great that you didn't buy a
You need to
plastic
just
bottle.
stop drinking water.
You need to stop.
You need to stop
out so
breathing.
much.
Yes,
Breathing
stop
out.
breathing.
You
But
can breathe in.
that's really where we're going to. That is the logical progression. Like nobody knew that we would get to a point where we have this currency that's like based on fucking a 24 by 24 bitmap or whatever. Nobody knew that would be the progression of money. But here we are.
So
The
just for people
logical-
who don't know what like a bitmap is, it's literally just like a picture of a digital, like a video game
like-
character's face.
Yeah, imagine Mario on Nintendo 64. How that looked.
And then taking a screenshot of his head and then selling that for $30,000.
Exactly. All right. It's nothing fucking special for real. It has no actual value.
But it's non-fungible, and that sounds pretty dope.
That's a fun word.
Fungible, yeah.
Yeah. But the point that I'm making then is that these I forgot it. Whatever.
Oh man, this is good. What?
Hey,
what, Cameron?
Bill Gates says what we can do to what each of us can do as a citizen.
Whoa! Did you wash your hands before you touched that book of the mighty Bill Gates? Excuse me. Okay, tell us what our Lord said.
He says,
Our Lord and Savior.
as a consumer, you can sign up for green pricing programs with your electric utility.
Sick, dude. It's more.
You can reduce your home's emissions.
Yeah, dude. I used to sell that shit.
Buy an electric vehicle. Try
Oh.
a plant-based burger.
Dude, that's another spell that I was gonna drop. Electric cars. Remind me. Don't let me forget about the electric.
As an
cars.
employee or employer, set up an internal carbon tax.
What else you got, Cam? Come on, camel toe.
No, it's just ridiculous. Like,
So here's the thing. Like
He's not
people
gonna-
actually believe that they're doing something when that is, as Cameron was saying earlier, that is not affecting the cause of pollution by any means. That's not even taking responsibility for what's happening on this earth, because the cause is us starting off in that separation, in survival mode, in fear, and us taking from our environment in this way is an after effect. And so if you think that just reducing your carbon footprint is the thing that's saving it or fixing it, that's not it. That's not doing anything, because you have to change you as the person, as the being. You have to change in order for it to have an actual effect on what we as a society are doing. I saw you counting off over there. What was that?
I'm making notes of the fucking spells that I got left to
All right,
cast,
go ahead.
man.
Go ahead. Boom. Cast one.
But that,
Right.
but I'm glad you mentioned that, because it is a really important point. What is he showing? COVID-19. What the fuck?
Black people in
Definitely.
Latinx. How do you pronounce that? Latinx.
Latino.
No.
Latinx.
Bill Gates is using the Latin X bullshit.
We just say, like.
Do you think he
actual-
wrote this book? Do you think he fucking wrote that?
Of course not. Of course not. Of
That's
fucking
funny.
course not. But
It's such a joke, man.
actual
Like,
Latin people don't use Latinx. It's
Latin X sounds like some fucking, I don't even know.
that sounds like some
X-Man
late night. That's some late night.
Latin X. It's like
uh,
Cinemax.
exactly Latinx. You'd get that
Latinx
on your TV in the hotel room, and you'd be like, I think I'm gonna watch the Latinx. shit."
Okay, electric cars,
Yeah,
carbon footprint,
yeah.
and climate change.
All right, start with one of them.
so where we were at in terms of carbon footprint, right? To be a good person, that's the incentive, right? You be incentive. You have
it's in this news article that I think Cameron shared. I don't remember who shared it, but it's like 1% difference is like, over a year, like recycle your water bottles or some shit. And then like 1.3% different is like blah, blah, blah. And then like the second biggest change you could do is like stop driving gas guzzling vehicles. But then the number that's like 3%. And then the number one thing, 48%. Don't have a baby. Don't have a fucking kid. Stop having kids. Okay. Hold on. No, shut up, Drake. Shut up. So it's all about, and I hear people say this, the reason why they don't have kids because they want to minimize their carbon footprint. Another way they're going to minimize their carbon
Are
footprint.
people actually saying that to you?
I'm not
That is
shitting
insane.
you. Dude. I'm not shitting you. I'm not
Fucking
shitting you.
worker bee.
Now right.
Seriously.
Right. So the next thing is reducing your living space. We're all fucking making fun of China because they all go and fucking live in closets and shit and right, all that stuff, right? It's like not all, but I don't know. There's like there's an idea that they live in really tiny ass apartments. And it's like, how could you live there? Everyone's talking about being a minimalist now. Everyone's talking about living in small places, right? So it's like
the tiny homes, people are like, oh,
Exactly.
it's amazing. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
that's what you want.
I saw something really funny about the tiny homes, like midgets being like, "Why are you appropriating our culture?"
yeah.
Shit,
But also there is this sort of fake, I'm a good person because I like that.
100%.
It's like an internal fantasy of because I can pretend like I would enjoy living in a tiny ass fucking house.
I felt like that. Like
that I'm a
3-4
good
years
person.
ago.
It's such a
Same.
weird thing though. But I mean,
Yeah,
I get it.
and
Like I understand.
I never considered the feeling that came along with like, oh yeah, that means like I'm cool, I'm a good person, I'm a hipster, it's all within the context of reducing.
Like I told this woman one time on
Yeah.
Facebook, she was talking about something and she was talking about how she was like living in a van with her kids. And I said, you're just like abusing your children. Like you need to like get a husband and buy a house. I'm like, you're just driving around your fucking in a van. That's not like stability for your children.
Dude,
She didn't like that.
I wanted to do that, like, because I watched a Netflix video, and it was a surfer, and he was also a doctor, but he wanted to just
I
surf.
heard about this
Like,
guy.
Yeah,
Didn't his kids end up like being really dumb or something?
his kids ended up fucked, man. They ended up,
But that's
so
not because
fucked.
but
Like,
the guy was fucked, right?
The guy was
clearly.
fucked. He was fucked to begin with. He had like 7 kids in an RV, like something ridiculous like that. It was just
Someone
like,
tried to
holy
tell me
shit,
about that
man.
movie, and I could tell they were trying to sell me on not homeschooling our kids. Like I
Oh,
could tell the
which
reason
movie?
they were
Which
telling
movie?
me that story
Which
was
movie?
because they were like, this guy didn't put his kids in school, but they did the whole story, and then they end up having all these problems, right?
Yeah, it's
And
a
it's
a
like
Netflix
that's not
movie?
because they didn't go to school. That's not why.
It's a Netflix documentary on this surfer guy who was also a doctor, and
Okay.
he was just fucked to begin with. Like the whole
he
nine.
had like a crisis, I guess, and didn't want to live the normal life, right? He wanted to just like travel around. or
Right,
something.
right.
Well, it was actually like he saw that the system was about profit versus
Uh-huh.
actually helping people, and he didn't like that. So he was still a practicing doctor, even though he was living this van life. He would
Okay.
go to like local areas and work as a doctor for money so that he could get enough to survive with his family. But then he'd spend the rest of his time. Yeah, I know.
It's like
Well, you could have just been a doctor.
you could have just stayed where you were, been a doctor, and not had to
And you could have
scrounge
traveled.
for money.
Yeah, and did all the
It's
things-
like I don't want to
up your
participate in
kid.
that system, but I'm still going to be a doctor and just scrape by. So I
Fuck
can
up
run
my kids.
myself. Yeah, take no responsibility. But I understand the sentiment.
Yeah. All right,
But
so
he did reduce his carbon footprint. So
he
doesn't-
did reduce his carbon footprint. No,
Oh,
wait,
dude.
actually,
gnarly, bro, gnarly.
He had 7 fucking
Oh,
kids.
dude.
That is not reducing your carbon footprint. Shame.
That's the 48%.
Plus, he was driving a
fucking-
van
that's the
around
biggest
every
thing.
fucking place, so he was like literally polluting worse than Bill Gates.
There it is. There it is. All
Bill
right.
Gates, he's like doing jets and shit back and forth. This guy has 5 kids, and he has more pollution.
Asif, back to your carbon footprint spell, or are we moving on?
Did you finish? Okay. No. We're going. So it's like nobody wants to do anything to give. In essence, distinguishing between life and ego. Ego, take, life, give. And the culmination of ego is like, dude, I just want to I don't want to have to fucking get off my fucking ass. I don't want to have to leave my house. I don't want to have to do shit. To make money, I literally just want to fucking take nudes, post them on my OnlyFans. Right? But now it's like we're even surpassing that. It's like, let's sell courses on how to be profitable on this fucking app. Right? Now going back to the another keen culmination point is everybody messaging you on Facebook being like, hey, what's up? You're like, hey, who is this? You're like, hey, I'm into like crypto trading. You ever heard of it? You ever thought about getting into crypto trading and crypto mining yourself? It's like, dude, everyone is just trying to get something.
How do you make money off of that?
The price goes up.
No. I meant, why would you tell someone else to do it? How does that
Right.
help you?
Yeah.
make
Like
money?
if
I'm
it's so
asking.
awesome.
I think it's like they'll end up being like, give me your money and I'll invest it for you. But
Okay.
I don't know. It probably I never fucking did it.
Or
but-
is it? I'm saying like they selling a course, or is it some affiliate program, or
I
some
feel like
bullshit?
it's like there's different.
Yeah.
You know, you probably got hit up by all three of those people.
It's like if someone's sitting there telling me how great crypto trading is, like then just go do it. Like why are you telling me about?
Like, why do you need money from me? Just go get rich off of it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Please leave me alone. I don't want your crypto.
But this is where we're at, right? It's like
Someone says like, do you do crypto? It's like, no, it's too cryptic. Can't understand it.
You know what we're calling this episode? The spells never end.
yeah, because they're not done yet. Okay. so
Because you won't fucking end. Just
all we're experiencing now, the logical conclusion of reducing your carbon footprint is no longer having kids and living in a fucking box where all you have is the internet,
You know what you call that?
the matrix, the fucking
Huh?
What?
I'm gonna spell you. A crypt.
Woo!
fucking spells, dude. Holy shit. I got outspelled. Forget my spells, dude.
We're the crypt keepers.
Oh
Right.
shit, dude. Those are the robots. You know in Matrix, it's like they're in the crypt and then you have the robots keeping the crypt. And the bloods.
We have the spells to open the crypt.
Oh, nice.
We decrypt
Ah, nice. These are good.
by spelling.
I feel a shirt somewhere in there, but I don't know what it is
I
exactly.
can keep going.
Yo, are you slam poeting me right now?
Yeah,
Are you slam poetrying me right now?
I'm
Damn.
slamming poets.
Oh, nice, dude. Get
Spells. I'll just say it again. So what's the other spell? So we've got the carbon footprint,
So
minimalism,
just
living in a crypt.
Your
Okay.
life becomes right. This is how fucking far removed into our mind is. We no longer move physically. We're just in a fucking thing, like our tiny ass fucking house, strapped up to whatever the fuck, where we're connected virtually into virtual reality. We're in
Yeah.
that virtual reality. You're not even the value in Bitcoin right now is you can sell your Bitcoin for fucking dollars and you can go buy a house. You can go buy food. It's like you won't even need that anymore because everything's going to be provided for you. And in fucking Minecraft Second Life virtual reality land, you're going to be trading shit that makes no fucking sense. But in some way, there's going to be people who are still in reality profiting off of it and enjoying like what is here, right? So that's like the culmination of us going totally into our minds and forgetting our fucking bodies, right? Where then people are putting their consciousness into, you know, some robot and then not having kids and then they're gone, they're dead, they're gone, right? So the point is that's where everything is heading unless you fucking wake up. So the other thing is somebody was asking, we were talking the other day.
Oh shit. Okay, hold on.
I'm good. I got two
what
left.
if,
So I'm good.
what if they know how to
Oh,
you know that
shit.
okay, hold on. Did y'all see this thing where it was like Microsoft was patenting making a chat bot out of like someone who's deceased? Did y'all see that?
What the
Remember that?
fuck?
I've seen.
I didn't really
I
look
did not
into
see
it. I
that.
just saw this thing about that.
Yeah.
Oh shit, dude.
But I was just thinking, because you're bringing up that point about like you're putting your consciousness into a robot and then you're dead or whatever, right? Because you know it's not going to work. Like you don't continue. You're not your consciousness.
Consciousness, like, you know, like your attributes.
If
and
you can
stuff,
copy it and put it into a computer, it's not
that's
you.
not you. Exactly.
You're not going over there.
But what you think.
But-
you are,
But
what you
let's
think
say,
you are.
but people don't realize that.
Yes.
They don't know that, right? How will you know? you won't know until you're dead and you don't know anymore, right?
You're like,
So-
oh, fuck.
So how will they prevent people from knowing? Okay, they're gonna replicate. It's just bullshit. They're gonna sell you on putting your consciousness into a robot, but then they've already got the patent on creating chatbots out of deceased people. So they're just gonna make it seem like it's fucking you. It'll pass the Turing test, and then
Dude,
they'll
like
think
Weekend
that
at
you're-
Bernie's type shit.
Like they'll
Oh,
think it's
yeah.
actually you alive, so they'll just assume like, oh yeah, cool, it's working, and then everyone's gonna be doing it, and that's how they depopulate everybody.
That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense because it's like if they already have the technology now to do that, or they've already been working on it, which I've seen it, and some people have like done interviews where they said, "Man, it really feels like so and so's still around. Like I'm still texting so and so or whatever."
Oh fuck!
And
So they actually just the confirmation is there that
You
it's
remember
real.
that now? The chat bot.
yeah, because like what you would do, or at least the last that I've seen of it was you would upload all your chat history with that person.
Yeah.
You know, and then they would synthesize all that, and then in interacting with you, it's going to respond in the very same manner that it would have in the past.
So now imagine all the
what
data
if-
they have from Alexa and Siri and Google and every camera and everything that they could put it into a fucking, they can make robotics and put the skin over fucking top. And it's like a moving person who can speak.
Well, and then
Hey, we should do an experiment.
Tell us, Cameron.
I'm not gonna fucking waste my time doing this, but somebody should do an experiment where you have somebody
Waste my time.
and there's like an anonymous texting app. Okay. And you can text each other, but you don't know who's texting you. So it's like 5 of your best friends. And then you have to see like if you can figure out who is who.
Cameron, do you know about the word signature? You can identify one unique individual based off a set of the 50 most popular words that they use.
wow, just
Really?
50?
Oh, I never heard about that.
Of the 50 most popular words that they use, you can identify every single human being uniquely. That's like what some study showed or something, some testing.
That's interesting. You know,
My
because-
intuition is that's not possible, but
That-
I
maybe-
see how it would be, but it
Right,
just
like
feels
maybe-
intuitively like it's counterintuitive.
Maybe 120, but like it's like, like certain people who they use this word always, and you're like, oh, that person always says like,
Dope.
I need,
Defenestrate.
yes,
I don't
that's
know
what
who
they
you
say.
hang out with.
That's
but-
what they fucking say all the time. And you're like, I fucking hate that guy.
Oh, look who it is, Mr. Defenestrate. Yeah.
Hang on. Because I've seen Tim Pool talking about how when you log on to Facebook, they're tracking your keystrokes, right? And so even if you were to get on Facebook from somebody else's account across the world, just by the way that you type, they can recognize who you are.
Oh fuck, dude.
Isn't that crazy? So like
That makes sense.
if they're collecting all of this data, then when it comes time to, hey, we can upload your consciousness into this computer and it'll be like you never died. And then you go and you're like, well, my grandmother decided to do this. She decided to upload her consciousness. I'm going to go talk to her. Right. And then you go and you start talking to grandma and you're like, oh, fuck, that's grandma. That is 100%. It's like she would do all those things. Then you're like sold on, okay, yeah, I'll upload my consciousness and I'll be fine. Okay.
It's
so-
like but imagine when
Oh, did you guys see that video? I don't know if I posted it. It was from some Netflix show. Did
yeah,
you see this?
I think Kristen Isabel.
which one?
Yeah, where the girl is like talking to her parents and she's saying how she doesn't identify as being human, and so they're assuming she's like trans.
She said like that's what she said. She said I'm trans, and they're like, oh, well, we thought this day would come where
like they think
yeah.
she's transgender, right?
yeah, and she's like, I'm
But
not
she's
a
like,
boy.
no, I'm transhuman.
Yeah,
And she's like, I want to upload my consciousness into the cloud or whatever she says,
right.
and like literally basically not be alive physically anymore.
And her
right?
parents are like, you're saying you want to die? She's like, what? You don't get it. Like,
But the way that they show it, like, you know what I mean? Like the style of it,
at the kitchen table.
it's like one of those shows where it's like the person's coming out being gay and you're
Right.
like, oh my God, these parents are so behind the times. They're
Right.
so old fashioned. Like they don't like it's like they do it exactly in that
Opposite.
style.
But literally no one is that serious about being transhuman right now.
Right, but this is how
Not
it
yet.
happened.
But,
right?
but
This
there
is-
probably are, I'm sure, at some like niche of
yeah,
people.
yeah,
But
early adopters.
it's just not there yet. Yeah.
So
But wait, because we'll see in 10 years how many people are like, no, I'm doing this. Like, you can't stop. Like,
Yeah.
this is my choice. I was born this way.
yeah,
Like, I'm not supposed to be in this body. I'm supposed to be in a perfect fucking simulated robot computer thing. And like,
Yeah.
because not to sound callous towards gay people or trans people or anything like that, but like, this is the programming that kids are getting right now. Heavy, fucking heavy, where they're getting impulse with like the storytime drag queen whatever deal,
oh, that shit is crazy. Yeah,
right? And like I showed it to somebody who had no idea about that, and they looked at it and they were like, yo, this shit looks demonic. I would be scared as a child around this shit.
Yeah, that's just total fucking dumb.
Right?
Like, it's not even, people say like, oh, you're being so hateful. It's like,
But that's the thing. It's
if,
like,
if a child sits in front of this guy, this hairy dude in a dress, and isn't comfortable, and then you're saying that they have to sit there and do it, like, who's the hateful one?
Yeah.
Like, what gives you the right to determine what people should be comfortable with or not? And like, well, that's how you should make people uncomfortable. It's like, well, then, okay, I'm going to just run around saying the N-word and be a racist because that makes people uncomfortable.
right.
Like, what right do you have to not to challenge my self-expression?
Right.
It's like, is that really the game? Is that logically the game you want to play? Or is it just, you think that you're pushing the boundaries by not going with tradition and you're just reacting to that because you're not comfortable, because you don't see a future for yourself and you don't know what to do physically, you have no purpose. And so the only thing to do is, like you've been saying, Asif, like, go into some fantasy in your mind, and hey, everybody else is doing it. At this point, it's safe. And here's the thing. At this point, being trans, it's like, it's saturated. It's overdone. There's no opportunity there anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you got to come up with something new
now
because
there's dog play.
everybody's talking about getting in on it. Do you see
Now,
what I'm
now,
trying to say?
now there's people becoming dogs. So
Well, that's the thing, right? The animal kin or whatever they are,
Yeah.
and other kin.
cat-
But what I'm saying is, it's like, it's already saturated.
Hmm.
Before, you could be like, oh, I'm such a victim. The world is so against being trans. Like, that's not like that anymore. Everybody's accepting trans. So now it's going to be like, I mean, you guys saw this whole thing with Andrew, governor of New York, right? Cuomo.
yeah.
Well,
How they're just turning on his ass, right?
Yeah.
He won the fucking Emmy. He
Dude.
won an Emmy for his fucking boring press conferences with PowerPoints.
What's
And
his,
now they're turning on him and telling him to resign.
what's his name had a really great theory about that too. Alex
boy.
Jones. His theory.
Oh,
about-
okay, Alex. I didn't hear that part. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Oh, dude, he had an awesome.
But I
awesome
did
theory.
see people on Twitter going, I don't know, I just have this feeling that Trump is behind all of this.
Oh,
And I'm like, and I was like, okay, so you think that all these top level Democrats are trying to get rid of Andrew Cuomo because Trump doesn't want to be investigated in New York. So they're trying to get rid of him to prevent themselves from investigating Trump. So, like, they're being played by Russia. It's like, what are you fucking? It's like, literally, people have just turned into, well, Trump's got to be behind it if I don't like it. Like, if I can't figure it out, it's got to be Trump and Russia. It's got to be he behind it because I can't make sense of it. It's like, no, maybe you're just dumb.
you kind
You
of
know, the concept of a scapegoat was you tell all your problems and put all your problems in the goat, then you send the goat off.
And he escapes.
The goat goes into the landscape, the scape, and then the problem should be solved in the town. And it's like, now the goat's gone, and they're like, why are the problems still here?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, well, the goat is probably spying on us from the
Yeah,
hilltop.
like the goat didn't leave. The goat didn't escape.
The goat's like
Trump's the goat,
online
by the
trading
way.
cryptocurrency and shit.
Yeah,
That's
the goat's
fucking
fucking.
hilarious.
Yeah, the goat's a fucking chatbot.
But what's the theory?
The theory was
The goat
So-
is your grandma. He's like live chatting you, pretending to be a grandma.
He's like, yeah. Go into the go, become consciousness into, upload your consciousness into the fucking.
She's like, boy, get your hand out of that cookie jar. All right.
so Cuomo basically was
Thanks,
told
Grandma, specifically.
to put those old folks back into the old folks home, right?
Okay.
He was given an order higher up than him, so it wasn't really his decision to kill a bunch of people.
Of course, yeah.
But it's like it comes from Fauci, right? So he even said in one of these interviews.
Wait. Restart. What the fuck? I do not know the Cuomo stuff.
Okay,
Oh,
Andrew
boy.
Cuomo.
Hold on. First, you got to go. February 2020, a pandemic happens.
No, I get it. He was on board with implementation of the limits and all that stuff.
Okay,
No, but
so
like he told these people. Well, I'll let you tell, Trey.
in New York, basically, Andrew Cuomo, the governor, put all these lockdowns in place and everything, and he was applauded for doing such a great job, right? And we all know about how high the death toll was in New York and everything.
But literally, they're applauding him for just implementing all the control shit,
Right.
and not
Following
going
orders.
against it.
Right.
Following-
That's why they're actually applauding him, not because any good result came of it. but
Right,
yeah.
because the death toll was so high, and like he had
And then somehow that's also still Trump's fault, though. Even though he did an amazing job, all these people died because Trump didn't act quickly enough, even though it didn't happen anywhere else, except for
Right.
the other places where they locked everybody down. But okay.
Right. Well, what their data shows is basically all these people that died in nursing homes. And the
So
reason
the
why
vast majority are these old ass people in nursing homes.
and the reason why all these people died in nursing homes was because they were admitting COVID positive. I guess
Instead of keeping them at the hospital, they just put them back
Yeah.
in the
Residents,
old folks
yeah.
home.
Exactly. So these people were COVID positive. They put them back into the nursing home, and they could not refuse to accept these COVID positive patients, even though in New York they requested a bunch of hospital beds, and so they sent over
Remember the
literally
hospital ships?
a Navy ship with a bunch of hospital beds. They
And they
cleared
left
out
it empty, right?
the convention center that they have there, so that they could have hospital beds there. None of that was ever fucking used, right? And so these.
But how epic was that
homes-
that photo op probably of like a ship, containers.
Oh,
of
I'm
like,
sure.
Oh yeah, Trump totally used it.
I'm sure, yeah. But like, so okay, then all these people get.
Turn up your mic a little bit, Drake, or talk a little closer or something.
No, it's fine with my side.
Okay, it's just you.
No, Cameron, you're way louder than like you sound
All right, I'll.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, but so all these people get put into their nursing homes, and then they start fucking dying like crazy, and then it was because of Andrew Cuomo's order specifically says you can't deny these COVID positive patients. You have to accept them.
Okay.
And so now he's being thrown under the bus as like, dude, you caused a lot of fucking deaths with that policy. It looks like you're watching a movie. like,
But no one's really talking about that, are they?
No, because now they're talking about him having these sexual harassment allegations, right? But when they were talking about it, it was coming to light. Cuomo just said,
there was a part that was the first point. It
Right.
started coming out, and there was this thing like some leak or something about one of his press people or someone in the organization. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Where they said something about it, like they admitted something about.
oh yeah.
I don't remember
Like,
specifically.
They were trying to hide the data, and then
Oh
basically.
yeah, that's what it was. They said, yeah,
Now-
we were deliberately hiding and
Yes.
suppressing that information that we caused all these problems or whatever.
Yeah. And so when it came to light, then it was like, oh fuck, big deal. Cuomo killed a bunch of people. And so then they said, basically, well, now we should investigate Cuomo and all that. But Cuomo just said the magic words, which was basically like, I was told to do this.
Oh, he said that.
Yeah. This is what Jones said. He's like, he said he was told to do it. And as soon as that happened, then that's when all the allegations started coming in. And Alex Jones said,
Shit, man, that's crazy.
he said this really cool point, which I was like, oh, fuck, he's got a point there. He said, notice how all the women coming forward, they're not actually saying that they had sex. None of them are saying they had sex. They're all just saying, oh, he hugged me weird at a party, or he said
Yeah.
remarks to me. He's like, that's a little like, if you had some like distinct shit going on, you'd say he had sex with me and like he
Yeah.
coerced me.
It's
or-
more like innuendo to
Right.
be like, well, maybe he's a creepy dude and we don't like him anymore.
Right,
So-
right. And so
It's enough to Me Too him, basically.
exactly.
Wow.
And so Alex Jones is saying that's because whenever there's a story that comes out, all you have to do is replace it with a bigger story. And then
Yeah.
just replace that with a bigger story and just keep doing that. And people forget the original thing that happened. And so it doesn't get traced back to you. So he made a fun example of like, if I were to kill my neighbor, it would be in the news. Alex Jones murders his neighbor or whatever. But what if there was another story that came out? The neighbor was beating his wife and Alex Jones saved the guy's wife. And then what if there was another story that came out that this guy was embezzling money and all this, just
He was a Nazi.
Exactly. And so now, I don't know if Alex Jones killed him, but, I heard that guy was beating his wife and he was about to kill her and all this, and so it just takes away from what the original point is. And then it doesn't come back to the source or the head.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Man, that's really interesting though. I didn't know, the part I didn't know about was that he apparently said that he was told to do it.
Because they told me to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so it's basically he's like, I'm not gonna. So I see your point about the media coverage, but I also see it as, okay, we don't trust this guy anymore. Let's destroy him. Like, let's get rid of him. Like, we can't.
Well, they're basically like the other thing that Jones was saying was they were burning him because they're showing the reason why the Democrats specifically are attacking him is because there's a bunch of other Democrats that were told basically the same deal. Like they followed orders as well. And so, look, we're burning this guy. We will do it to you too. So don't fucking.
And see, it's fascinating because people will say like there can't be conspiracies because we'd have this evidence of it. And it's like, but if you were actually in those positions, wouldn't you do exactly that and make sure you have the dirt on everybody and the leverage so that if anybody says anything, you totally get everybody to go against them and then nobody says anything and then you just keep everything under control. Like, and I mean, that's a perfect example. It's so obvious what's happening there actually, but
yeah,
the media is not going to put all those dots together. So therefore, the average person just focused on their little individual life of wondering what gender they are. They're not even going to think about it. They're just going to like it's being presented in a way that it gives you subconsciously what you need to think and believe about it. And then they just keep going.
And it's the same point of the Jeffrey Epstein thing where it's like, record you doing some illicit things with children so that we can get the dirt on you so that we always have some blackmail. So you're always in our pocket. And it's, just to take it another step further, more practical for some people who, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to believe that, but like for those who can't wrap their minds around that, it's the same thing that gangs do when you're getting into a gang. They say, you got to go jump that guy, or you got to go rob this bank, or you got to kill somebody, or you have to do something illicit to show that you can be a part of this gang. If you're not going to do it, you're not hard enough.
You're not committed.
You're not committed. Exactly. Oh, we're getting another spell here. We're getting another spell full with food in the mouth. Asif.
Dude. Do you guys remember?
Okay, stop. Just finish your food first. I am not going to listen to that. You're going to have to just actually. Here, I'm going to mute you. How do I mute
No, ASMR, dude. This shit sells, man.
This is not ASMR.
Okay.
That's because you're not listening closely enough.
All right, we just muted Asif.
All right, thank you.
Um,
But why don't we wrap it up here?
No, hold on, dude. Hold on. We'll cut the first fucking half of the podcast to get into the real stuff.
As long as this. Okay, so we're starting the podcast now. Okay, let's start here.
So, you guys remember Catherine Austin Fitz talking about like what you were talking about is like all of this is reliant on you not being able to connect the dots between the pillars.
Yeah.
Right. Another thing she was talking about is how the Amazon cloud service, how every fucking company that you can think of is uploading all information into this cloud. Right. Because information is the sexiest currency. That's why Mark Zuckerberg has platforms. That's why Jeff Bezos wants platforms, Washington Post, all this stuff. So she was talking about how the correlation being, and remember the patent 060606 from Microsoft being that you can use your body to mine crypto because there'll be nanotechnology inside of you.
That sounds like such a ridiculous, like, you know, like such a ridiculous conspiracy theory level, like, oh, there's a patents 06,
I
06,
know.
06.
That's why I looked it
But
up.
it's like it's legitimately a real thing. And it's
That's why I
almost
looked
like
it
they
up.
waited to get that one just so people would say that and they'd be like, well, obviously there's nothing to see there. That's just bullshit. But it's
I
like that
literally,
is actually what it's called. Like, what the fuck?
it doesn't make any sense. Like I saw some meme of it, you know, and it's like it's kind of like low quality, and they do that red circle and shit. You're like, oh, this is obviously bullshit. And I look it up,
Right.
dude, what the fuck? And that's why we focus on that podcast.
Yeah.
So it's so the kind of hidden in plain sight thing, right? So it's so clear that they already, it's called nanomedicine, right? Robert Langer, he has a big focus on nanomedicine, and the guy, Tak, whatever, the guy that you sent a video of, he's explaining mRNA. They're buddy, like basically the
CEO of Moderna.
what, I think he's like the chief medical officer or something like that of
Okay.
Moderna. Exactly. So it's talking about basically what Catherine Austin Fitz was explaining was they're going to be putting this technology into your body that can basically measure, imagine it can measure all of your movements, every single part of you, every single bio measurement that you could think of, uploading it to the cloud, having your voice information also in the cloud, so that when you this is going back to the point of you upload your consciousness to some robot, and then the robot can move exactly like you, and then make it look like you and all that stuff, right? Because I mean, there's so many things that you can do to make a robot look like. If you ever seen like zombie movies and shit like that, the reason it looks so good, by the way, zombies aren't real, right? The gashes that
Fucking
actors
spoiler
have,
alert. God.
right?
damn.
You know, Two-Face and Batman, that's not real. They just do a really good job in makeup and all that stuff, where you upload the movements, the intonation, the voice, the quirkiness, mannerisms, every single thing that you could think of about a human being, upload it into that thing, right? And then that thing is the exemplar of look how cool this is. Now you'll live forever. That's what you're going to have everybody doing in due time, because we're going to be so far removed from our body and how we feel and all that stuff. So all you have to do is upload your consciousness into a robot. And this is after you've already been in a fucking box and you spent all your time in fucking The Sims 10. You spent all your time just trying to select what gender you're going to be, or if you want to be a cat or whatever the fuck you want to do. So that's one thing. Another thing was just wrapping up this point on, I was talking the other day, yesterday to somebody. They're like, yeah, you know, I don't really know if my job's really going to be taken over that quickly by AI. And we're like, why so? How so? And they're saying, well, like, you know, I expected electric cars. I expected everybody to be driving electric cars by now. And I was thinking about that point, and I was like, true, that makes sense. About, you know, you would think that electric cars are like this year, next year, or something like that, that it'd be weird to not be driving electric cars at this point, because they had it in the works for so long. Like, are you kidding me, kind of thing? But they're just waiting, right? Because people are still, you know, they're making the point of people would still be afraid to drive electric cars and all that stuff. But what is the sentiment that people have around stuff? That's just the media. So when they're ready to put you in a fucking, hear me out, when they're ready to put you in a box where you're not living all that stuff, and you're so focused on your carbon footprint and all that bullshit, and you don't want to drive too much and all that stuff, you don't want to have kids, and when they're ready to take control of your transportation, then they're going to change the sentiment around electric cars and release the fleets of electric cars.
Bill Gates is already saying you should be driving electric now.
There you go.
He's saying it. It's like, it's already here. And you're right. Like, when they're ready to want everybody to do it, then everyone will do it.
Mm-hmm.
They've had electric cars in like 2000.
Right.
You remember? Did you all see this Who Killed the Electric Car? This movie? There was a documentary called Who Killed the Electric Car. They had electric cars for a long time.
Yeah.
So they could have had them, but there was a whole thing. And, you know, the point is, like, when they're ready, like you're saying, everyone will have it. And, you know, it's fascinating. You look at the power of the media to consider what the media could get everybody to do if that was their starting point. They could get them to do anything. If they can get everybody wearing masks and all this stuff. And regardless of how, this is the one thing, I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but it's like the one thing that just proves to me how absurd it all is without needing proof that I already know. But I'm just saying that the one obvious thing, the fact that you can go to the restaurant, you wear the mask, you sit down, you take it off. That point right there should be a clue to everybody that is bullshit. And the fact that people, because some people do see it, but a lot of people don't, and they still like have no, it's like, what's the problem? Of course it's safe to sit down and eat. And it's like, it's almost like but how would we eat at a restaurant then if we can't take the mask off? It's like, why are you being allowed to eat at a restaurant in the deadliest pandemic in the history of our world?
Yeah. Why do you want to go to a restaurant even?
In a pandemic that's so deadly, we had to shut down the entire economy and people couldn't work, and we had to change the nature of how kids are educated versus, school, blah, 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 all these different things. But no, it's really important. People need to sit down in a restaurant and take off their mask, even though they're mostly closed and not at capacity and all this stuff. Like the fact that it would be allowed at all makes zero sense.
Yeah.
It just shows you it's total bullshit.
And the people following it, if they were actually sincerely afraid, but for some reason they went to the restaurant, wouldn't they be like, mask down, put the food in my mouth and mask up?
But also, wouldn't they be like, I mean, how do I know the guy in the back didn't cough on it?
Exactly.
I mean, they're fucking spitting in your food and stuff anyways.
Yeah.
Like, you think they're not doing it right now? Like, why wouldn't they? So if you really think it's real, why would you even take the risk? And then to also make the argument of everybody has to do it because we can't take any risks. You have to do all these things. We can't take, it's not worth it. If one person dies, and it's like, but then why is anyone even allowed to go to restaurants? Why isn't anyone allowed to do anything?
Yeah.
Why doesn't everyone literally just sit in their houses? Who cares if you can have food? We got to just wait it out for 3 weeks and then we'll be back. How did the virus survive during that 3-week period where we were all waiting? Remember the 15 days to flatten the curve?
Right.
2 weeks, right? How did it survive during that period? Because you could still go to a fucking restaurant and take your fucking mask off. I mean, assuming that's even what's going on. Like, it's just like, it's not serious. And the places that were most locked down are the most fucked, according to the statistics. But then what's funny about it is, you just said it earlier about the old folks' homes. That's where most people died in New York. Do you know where you can find the actual statistics on that?
Yeah, I could pull it up.
I'm curious where to actually see, like, if they show like what the actual numbers are, breakdown by percentage of population.
It's funny,
so
if I just look at like the Google death rate, it's like before when I would check it, I was like, I know this is not even accurate because it's not even considering like it can never be accurate because of the testing itself, right? But and the way they're documenting the deaths and all that stuff. But it's like before when I was checking it, when it was such a big deal about coronavirus deaths, all that stuff, the justification for lockdown, it was like, if you just look at Google, the confirmed cases to confirmed deaths, it was like 6% death rate. Now it's like less than 2.5%. I just literally just took the Google numbers and divided it. And it's like less than 2.5%. And I'm like, well, that's like, even the mainstream number is like negligible.
But what doesn't even make sense to me is the point where if you said, well, it's just old people dying mostly, so like they're going to die anyways, right? I mean, why are we going to shut down society for them? And then it's like, that's heartless, right? But you see in the mainstream the exact same argument being made about, well, people getting the vaccine and who are old and then dying. They're like, but they were old, they were going to die anyways. You don't know if it's because of that. And it's totally disingenuous. What are you finding, Jake? Anything?
In the meantime, while Jake's,
yeah, I found this nursing home data sheet or whatever.
Oh, nice.
You can't read it. It's just numbers. It's just all fucking numbers. But I remember looking at something like way before this broke in like mainstream, because it was one of the points that Tim Pool was bringing up back during the election cycle, right? And so it was one of these points. I remember looking up something else that it was really clear, like, holy shit, the percentage of people dying in nursing homes is ridiculous. It is some ridiculous number. I can't even remember at the moment. I want to say it was like 40%, but it just sounds so fucking ridiculous that it's like,
I'm looking at on CDC website, risk for COVID-19 infection, hospitalization, and death by age group. But then they do it from 0 to 4, 5 to 17, and they put in different age groups.
Mhm.
Then they do it cases, hospitalization, and death. And it looks like the case rate is actually pretty much the same across the board, except for like young children below like 5 years old. That's like virtually nothing. But what's interesting is they don't put percentages; they put rate ratios. So it's like death, 18 to 29, 15 times,
Oh yeah, I did see that. I did see
and
that.
then like 85 plus, 7,900 times. So above 50, it's like 400 times, then 1,100 times, 65, 75, 2,800 times, 85, 7,900 times. So what are the actual percentages of people? Like, it's like they're just giving this rate instead of it actual. You can easily just see what the percentage of people is.
yeah, you got to do math.
No, but it's not even do math. You got to figure out what does this mean. So you can't easily a person be like, oh, most people dying are 85 plus or whatever it is. You can't easily just do that.
Yeah, and they
Because it doesn't even give you total numbers, anyways.
Yeah,
it just says all rates are relative to the 5 to 17 year age category. So 18 to 29 is 15 times more likely to die than a 5 to 17 year old. But I wonder if somebody could just do like generally the likelihood of dying based on certain ages.
That's what I'm looking for.
Like what's the rate of what's the likelihood of an 85-year-old person dying compared to a 5 to 17-year-old dying? I wonder if it's 7,900 times more likely. You know, so it just makes it look like, oh man, look at all these people that are, oh wow, versus what actual percentage?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they make it so obvious for everybody so they could just see it?
And that's only recent. Like
So-
you couldn't find things like that until recently. I looked yesterday or the day before, and then I started seeing the 700X and all that stuff.
So I saw this. Somebody had done like the Freedom of Information Act to their local university, who was reporting all the COVID deaths in their area, and the original numbers said like something like in the thousands of patients that had died that had gone to this university's hospital with COVID, right? And so the specific request was how many patients at this hospital died that had no other underlying symptoms, just COVID. And the reply back that they got was less than 5. And they said, and it was literally less than 5, but it wouldn't give a number. And it said specifically, we're not giving out the specific number because we feel it would compromise vulnerable information. And so due to the Freedom of Information Act, we only have to give you this number, less than 5. And that was it. So it's like, it's vague on purpose, you know?
Wow.
I'm looking at this based on race. Wait, where did it go? And apparently, where the hell did it go? Oh, here it is. It's all compared to white. So that's like the
gold
control
standard
group, or the reference group. Yeah, the gold standard.
Standard.
But it says that Asian people are less likely to get it.
Interesting.
They're 1 times, and I'm assuming that just means based on, they're not really explaining it, but I'm assuming that just means it's the same rate to be hospitalized as white people, and it's the same death rate. But Black people are 1.9 times more likely to die and 2.3 for Hispanic.
Ooh.
Hispanic lives.
So even COVID is racist. And what's weird about it, it says race and ethnicity are risk markers for other underlying conditions that affect health.
Hmm.
So in this case, it's because of the underlying conditions. It's not because it's genetic or anything like that. But it's really fascinating when you look at all this.
That's interesting because, well, I mean, there are a lot of people out there that will tell you race does not exist, right?
Right.
And that we're all the same. Just clearly bullshit.
Not according to the virus.
All right, Asif, last spell.
Last spell. Spell it.
Okay. This is just a little tidbit on how
Just
carbon
a little,
dioxide in the environment works.
little tip.
It works by parts per million. If you Google a logarithmic graph with a base of 2, log base 2, x, you'll see a graph. And if x, just take the graph after y is above 0. So the graph basically looks like from 0 to 1, big spike. From 1 to 2, a little bit less of a spike. From 2 to 3, it's like kind of flattening out. And 3 to 4, it's like barely any change. 4 to 5, barely any change, et cetera, et cetera. As we've already hit the saturation point a while back of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, where releasing more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere at this point is barely doing anything. It's like if you had a window and you painted a coat of black over the window, it would have a big effect on the sunlight coming in. Say it reduces the sunlight coming in by 50%. You paint another coat of black over it, it goes from 50% to 75% reduction. And then you point another coat of it, and then now it's like 87.5% reduction. And then you keep it. By the time you get to the 100th coat of black paint, you're barely doing anything. Basically, we're far beyond the saturation point of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So have kids, for example. Don't be afraid of your carbon footprint. If you really look at it, issue that was an issue if you were a Ute was vegetation. And there, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a very small unit of time where it was like, dude, places are undergoing like, they're becoming deserts, basically. They're drying up. But what's actually happening, for those of you who don't know, carbon dioxide is plant food. And what's happening is, because of the saturation of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, deserts are actually greenifying. These images of totally deserted landscapes now look like beautiful, luscious, the beginning of a beautiful, luscious jungle. Vegetation is occurring. This is an amazing thing. This is an amazing, amazing thing. They've never seen the rate of life growing from the CO2 in the air, because you're literally fueling plants. So that's a good thing, right? Another thing to consider is, let's just loop that in, about why would you not want that? That's not really a good reason to reduce CO2 emissions, unless you're trying to suppress the human being. Why? Because just consider this, right? And don't get me wrong, maybe there's other reasons that I'm not talking about right now, but just for the sake of time, just consider this. If you saturate or you give more carbon dioxide to a plant, it grows more, it grows faster. If a human being has more oxygen in their body, it works the same way. You can exert more, you'll grow more. If you're constantly being fed oxygen-rich air. For example, if I do a certain kind of breathing to oxygenate my muscles in my body, normally, if I would be able to do 20 push-ups, if I do a certain kind of breathing to oxygenate my body, I'll be able to do like 40, 50 push-ups. And if, for example, I kind of did like a, I exhaled everything and then barely took a breath and then held my breath, then barely took a breath, basically deoxygenating my body. I'd probably barely even be able to do 3 or 4 push-ups. My point is, depending on how much oxygen intake that's going into the human body, it does affect your growth, physical growth, because your body, your muscles, your brain needs oxygen to operate. It's the reason why you breathe. So they've convinced you that, or we've been convinced that carbon dioxide is a toxic on Canada's environmental toxic substances list. Carbon dioxide is on that list. Plant food and the things that human beings breathe out. That's some crazy shit. Some crazy shit. And then beside the word, I was told, okay, I didn't see this for myself, but I was told from a scientist that it says not a toxic substance. I don't understand why, but it's on the toxic substance list, and carbon dioxide, not toxic, non-toxic. But anyways, who cares? It's on the list, right? So I didn't verify that for myself. So let me be clear. But everything else that I'm telling you, I verified it for myself. You can verify it for yourself if you just research it. Just consider, why would they tell you to wear 2 or 3 masks?
To keep that toxic substance that you're producing out of the air.
Right. What is it actually doing to the human being? It's lowering your oxygen intake. They've done studies on surgeons who have to wear masks for a prolonged period of time. It's reducing the oxygen, and they're wearing 1 mask, by the way. It's called hypoxia. It's basically low oxygen intake. Your body's deoxygenated. You are depriving your body of oxygen, and you're lowering the oxygen amount with 1 mask by 18%. It's having a cognitive effect on a human being that's already grown. I want you to imagine what that's doing to a child who has to go to school in the most crucial development years of their life, being in an environment for an extremely long period of time where they have to wear masks, depleting oxygen to the body, suppressing their cognitive function, suppressing their ability to grow, suppressing their ability to just develop as an individual human being.
You know, they say your brain is developing to the age of 25. It's still developing, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And so, you know, they've made an argument for like, well, you know, the drinking age should not be 21 because your brain's still developing. You're fucking up your still developing brain, right?
Yeah. Physically developing till 25.
Yeah. And so, you know that if you derive a child of, well, derivatives. Yeah.
But don't drink and derive.
No, don't drink and derive. You'll get the wrong answers every time. But if you deprive a child,
that's what I said. Deprive.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying.
What if coronavirus is a conspiracy to kill boomers because of the impending
pension crisis?
Yeah.
Fuck, dude.
That makes sense.
I mean, I'm looking at the numbers from CDC right now of like all the deaths by like age group. And it's fascinating because only apparently in the US, 500,000 people who have died.
I know that's like,
but people say, oh, that's a lot. It's like, okay, but deaths involving pneumonia, 120,000. All deaths. Okay. I'm sorry. That was from one age group here from 85 and over. All deaths involving COVID-19, 158,000. Deaths involving, this is just pneumonia, 132,000. Deaths involving COVID-19 and pneumonia is 65,000. Deaths involving only influenza is, where did it go? 1,800. Deaths involving pneumonia, influenza, or COVID-19, 218,000.
You know what it sounds like just happened? It like, you know, when you make a Venn diagram, right? And you're taking the population, and I'm just talking about this because I've seen it with students where you've got the Venn diagram. In one side it says, let's say pneumonia. On the other side, it says COVID-19. And then in the center, it's COVID-19 and pneumonia, of course, right? And you've got on one side 50, the other side 50, in the center 50. Someone's looking at that going, 150 people died, right?
Right. Exactly.
But that's not how that works at all.
Well, so I'm looking at this and it's not really clear because they're not saying directly which is which, but it says deaths involving COVID-19 and pneumonia for this one age group is 71,000. And that says deaths involving pneumonia is 123. So I'm assuming if you take the difference, that's only pneumonia, right? But that gives you at least 50,000. So you have, so when I say all deaths involving COVID-19, 141,000, that's including if they had, there's 195. See, it's not even really clear. It says or pneumonia, influenza, or COVID-19 is 195,000.
It's
So
like
when
they-
it says
they clearly,
involving
don't wanna
COVID-19,
tell
that would
you-
include if they had pneumonia and COVID. Do you see what I mean?
I remember in every occasion that I've looked this specific statistic up and trying to differentiate like the comorbidities, they like never want to explicitly tell you, hey, this is what it was.
Yeah, but I'm just saying when I'm looking at it, I kind of glancing at it, it's like it doesn't seem like drastically different if it's just people who have like the flu and so and other things like that. It's like, and then what the reason I was talking about the boomers though made me think about it is if you look at the age group 40 to 49, and then you look at 50 to 60, like it goes like this. So it goes in years of about like 0 to 17, then 18 to 29, 30 to 39, and then it goes like every basically 10 or 5 years or something like that. I don't know why they put, what it says 40 to 49, it says 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 64, and then 65 to 74. I don't know why they do 15 years in that one. That would be interesting to see if they did it by 10 years, like 50 to 60 instead of 50 to 64. But anyways, between 40 and 49, it says 14,000. So it goes 0 to 17 is 216 deaths involving COVID-19. Then 18 to 29 is 1,800. 30 to 39 is 5,000. 40 to 49 is 14,000. 50 to 64 is 75,000. So suddenly it jumps. And then 65 to 74 is 110. 74 to 84 is 140,000. 85 and over is 158,000. So there's like this massive jump, like a very obvious massive jump from 49 years to 40 to 49 to 50 to 64. You know, and it's like, why is it attacking old people?
Why is it?
It's like,
It's an
What?
ageist virus.
Ageist
but you
and
know what I mean?
racist.
The people who should be out building the economy and so forth, none of those people have a super high risk of it anyways. So why don't you just tell all the people to stay at home and wear your masks? But why did they tell everybody else to do it? Why did they tell the children to do it? I mean, this is crazy. It says it's 216 children between 0 and 17. That's not even breaking it down like the other one was, where it was like children 0 to 4 and so forth. So up to 17 years of age, only 200 people in the entire US.
Damn.
So why is any school kid whatsoever being made to do any of this bullshit?
Because they might pass it to grandma and grandpa.
Right. So like, fuck grandma and grandpa. Like, let them, like, but here's the thing. Aren't they also saying also wear a mask and all this stuff and also don't go visit grandma?
Yeah.
So it's not like what I'm saying is, oh, just sacrifice them. They didn't want to be around the grandkids and all stuff anyways at this point.
Mhm.
So it literally would have changed nothing.
Shit, dude.
It's so obviously a way to engineer the whole situation so that this next generation of children growing up accepts something totally radically that we would never have accepted, except in a crisis. Do you see what I mean? Because eventually you get tired of the crisis. It's like here in Texas, you see people are just like, even before they lifted the mask mandate, people are starting to just like not care about it.
So I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen this year, but they're gonna need a new fucking defibrillation. Like, we need to pump some more like fucking fuel, some life into our agenda of like shutting shit down. So we'll have some more fun podcasts coming up this year for sure. But I mean, hey man, pretend this is the start of the podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe.
We're just gonna call this COVID cast.
Never ending.
Hey, it's a podcast, and we're
Oh,
casting
shit.
spells, and we're casting spells.
Well,
spellcast.
spells must be
Spellcast, yes.
spell pod.
Howcast. Ask WikiHow. WikiHow.
When are we gonna? I'm not saying we need to go into details right now, but when are we gonna talk about that new shirt? Or is that not ready yet?
Never.
As soon as they arrive,
Since we
only-
have them, and
yeah,
then we
when
can like show them.
when we're wearing them.
Oh yeah. So if you're watching this video, in real time, meaning like when we actually release it, get excited.
They're coming.
Because
We got some hot merch coming.
Oh, hot boy. Oh.
That's what's gonna kicked us off right there. That's Asian hate. It's unacceptable.
No. I'd like
Spotify is telling me to stop hating Asian people, by the way.
Well, somebody needed to tell you.
There's
Yeah,
like this huge wave, like rise in Asian people getting beat up, but it's like by black people, and nobody wants to talk about that.
Dude,
shit.
dude. Okay, there's literally a
Wait, guys, you want to just like start a new podcast right now?
Oh yeah, if you've been watching up to this point, just pause it, come back next week, and start the.
right.
This would be
I
sick.
swear this is the last spell right here.
But there's literally an Instagram account that is I forget what it's called. I think it's called Asians with Attitude, actually. Something along those lines, right? And it is this account that had been around before the pandemic and everything, but now their last like 100 posts or so, I don't even know, have been focused on this aggression towards Asians. And it's so funny to me, not that, Asians are getting beat up. That's not funny at all. But the funny thing to me is the people.
Well, it proves that the stereotypes are wrong.
Which ones?
What?
Well, they should know kung fu and all that.
Fuck, man,
So it's actually, in a way, it's helping break down stereotypes. So
that's really good.
silver lining.
Well, here's the other interesting thing, is that the people that are showcased on this account, the Asians who are like, we're gonna go protect our community and everything. That's great that they're doing that. They sound like black people. Like they sound like stereotypical like people from the hood, right?
Oh,
Like their accent wise, the way they talk and stuff.
Yeah, the way they talk, the vernacular they use, all that, right? And so
wow.
I find that super interesting. And then the videos that they show of these Asian people getting beat up is by black people. So it's like, oh,
Right.
you're becoming that thing, But anyway, there was nothing more to that. It's just something I found interesting.
self-perfected.com. You'll be able to find the merch store. You'll be able to find the fucking principles.
Come for the spells,
Mhm.
stay for the racism. That's going to be our new motto.
Man, you know what I was thinking about? Like one more thing.
See, the thing is, the more racist that we are, the more it breaks that down, so no one cares. You're desensitized to it. Everyone's thinking the best way to fight off disease is to like totally not like sanitize your hands, all this stuff. It's like, no, it's like go play in the dirt, go be around people, right? So the best way to break down racial barriers is to just shit on everybody's race.
My mom was telling me about the Merkel, I forget her name.
Meghan Markle.
Meghan Merkel and
Angela Merkel.
yeah, that's what I was about
Remember
to
that was the
say.
joke they made in the Flagrant podcast.
Right. Yeah. But my mom was telling me about that interview that they did with Oprah, and she's like, what do you think of it? And I'm like, I don't care at all. And she's like, why wouldn't you care? And I'm like, what effect does that have on my life? She's like, well, you're the one who kind of turned me on to this because you were telling me about how she's separating Harry from the family, and like that separation is going to be like some cause of their demise. And we're like, oh yeah, that's right, I remember that now. she's like, well, now they're talking about like there was some racism going on in the royal family. I'm like, for sure they're racist, for sure, 100%. But
like
it's
the-
not in the way that you're thinking of racism, because you're thinking of racism to do with skin color. That has nothing to do with racism.
That's what I was.
I mean, at the same time,
they're also
they also are probably racist.
very
like
Sure.
that.
Like they are the epitome of white.
But that's
But-
not the
real
main thrust of
racism- The real racism is you are not our bloodline. You're not fucking royalty. You don't have any say here. You're a fucking worker bee. Like, I'm a fucking queen bee and I'm Beyonce, bitch.
Fucking spit those bars. I heard the queen say that shit. She said,
Right?
"I am Sasha Fierce."
That's right. That's
So,
right.
so actually, that was actually the thought that I was having. Is like I was just considering different points of people like shitting on like what we say, and then
you
being like,
say that our consciousness is not connected. Look at this.
"True, got me there, God. I believe in God now."
The main point being that we're using skin color to indicate that that is the genetic difference that defines race. But if you look at the definition of race, it's like you look at it, it's a theory of, okay, this level of genetic stock, the difference here means it's a different race, but there's no defined line about what that means. So like, how is different hair color really different from different skin color or eye color? Like, why distinguish on one of them? Why not hate gingers? If we discriminate against gingers, wouldn't that be like racism? No, the essence of racism is just discrimination, period. It's like me and anybody who looks like me because that will help me, etc. But it's like the racism was happening, not skin color to skin color, like Drake is saying.
Racism is when you don't give a fuck that every child is fed
Yeah.
because they're not your children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because discrimination, there's nothing wrong with discrimination. Like,
Yeah.
we're discriminating all the time. I'm discriminating that this is a fucking
Like a water
screen
bottle
in front of
between
me.
a
yeah.
telephone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's nothing
In fact,
wrong.
in algebra, they have the discriminant of an equation, right? So
Yeah.
What is
you
that?
have to discriminate. Don't worry about it.
Oh shit, dude. Okay.
But,
I don't want to be
going back to the point of racism, that, like what Cameron just said, that is racism. When you don't care about that kid over there because that's not your kin, that's not your ilk, whatever. But you expect that your kids should be fed, and you expect that people should rally up for your, like, oh, this news story, like, how dare they not care about this? Or, oh, well, this person, they get all the accoutrement, whatever, and we don't. That's not fair. It's like, okay.
You know what? If you're a real capitalist and you believe like, oh, you shouldn't give handouts and all that stuff, don't feed your baby.
Oh, Mars.
You're just turning him into a socialist, aren't you?
Oh, spells, dude.
You're not teaching him consequences.
Yeah.
If you don't work, if you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps,
that baby's weak.
Weak ass baby.
Like in that movie 300.
But it's like people don't realize, it's like genetics, DNA, discriminating based on skin color is just discriminating based off genetics. That's what every single human being does, because your DNA is at the foundation of everything that you express ever, basically. So the point being that
do you guys think that if black people acted exactly the same way as white people, and like every race acted like white people, just act exactly the same, that there would still be racism?
We'd be 100 times better, but I mean, other than that.
No, but I'm saying, like, let's say like you came to like a white person's picnic and you were just like, hello, John, how are you today? Fine, thank you. Nice weather. Yes, it is. Turn on that Mozart, and then like you all sat down and you just spoke very quietly, and it was like literally just like everybody was white.
Is this how your picnics go?
But there was like black people and still Asian and stuff like that, but everybody acted white. You see what I'm trying to say?
Uh-huh.
Would there still be racism?
I don't think it would.
Or is it like white people are like, your skin is dark, I don't like that?
No, not at all.
But there is a belief that it's this whole white fragility thing that's like, white people are so inferior,
so to put that
so
together,
evil and so disgusting that they have to project that onto black people and hold them down. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about, but
the only reason they're doing it is just because your skin is a different color.
Yeah, that's yeah.
There's no other reason why. It's like, and they don't do it to other white people. They don't do it to anybody else.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
And they're racist because they're so inferior as a race. They're so evil.
Yeah, no,
that's literally the fucking theory.
And see, I don't think that people understand that white people are racist against white people. Black people are racist against black people. Hispanics are racist against.
Because that would crumble the fucking theory, right?
Yeah, but that's literally what is happening. It's like, you're not part of my fucking race. Like at the very top levels, they don't give a fuck about that shit. They're like,
the whole point is to keep everybody so divided by that low level thinking that we never change the system.
Yeah,
because
you have to compete to survive. That whole point we said from the beginning.
If it's Candace Owens and it is the same skin color, but they can still call her racist. They can still call her you, even though you're the same skin color.
Exactly. And so it's really,
if okay, how about this? If it was reversed and it was the exact same situation, everything was the same, but white people were black and black people were white,
they wouldn't call it racism.
No, but I want you to just imagine like the anti-racist person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to say like they have that thought experiment.
Yeah.
what do you think they would say?
What do you mean? Say
Like, let's say you have like an anti-racist, like avowed, like they read Robin DiAngelo's book. They, they're like, they agree, they're totally woke, right?
Yeah.
And you say to them,
and it's a white person or a black person?
doesn't matter, but they're
Okay.
so woke, right? And you tell them, I want you to imagine a scenario. It's the exact same world we live in right now, but everybody who's white is black and everybody who's black is white. Okay, like literally Nazis were like black dudes, like Denzel Washington marching down the street doing all that shit. Okay, like I want you to picture it, right? Like Adolf Hitler looked like James Earl Jones
Okay. All
in
right.
the fucking just James Earl Jones.
It'd be
Okay,
a lot
like
smoother, but yeah.
in the Empire Strikes Back, right? When he takes off his helmet, I think it's that one. I'm not sure
Yeah,
which one.
yeah.
It's a black dude. It's actually James Earl Jones inside the thing. Okay, they didn't have to swap him out for a white dude. Okay, I want you to imagine that scenario. What do you think the woke person would say? Like, would you say would that still be racist? Would you be on the side of the white people in that case?
I don't think they would.
No.
I agree. I really think they try to find some mental gymnastics as to why no, it wouldn't happen. Like they actually think there's a difference based on the fact that your skin color is different. You're fundamentally
That's fucking
different.
You got it, Cam. You fucking
know it's true. Like
Yeah.
that's a neat thing to
Decryptor,
think,
man.
Like
You are
just
the
know,
decryptor.
like, yeah.
But I guess the point that I was making with that is like
I think this is a Spellbreaker podcast.
Spellbreaker.
Owen Benjamin already good.
But within this point is like it's really the culture, and really the funny thing about that is we identify as our cultures, like we identify as, and it's even within us genetically, the culture, right? But that's the point, that is where we're identifying as that, which can be changed. And we don't want to change it because we say that's who we are and we shouldn't have to change. And yet we have these arguments that everyone else should change. Like in this current society, white people should change, straight people should change to accept and elevate those of us who are in this culture who cannot change.
I was gonna say, imagine the scenario where it's all gay people, but then the straight people are like the gay people. But you can't imagine that scenario because there wouldn't be any people.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's end the
So,
spells.
Yeah, like
Let's
what?
wrap
We have to
it.
do like part 1 and part 2. Like what the
No.
fuck's going on here?
No, this is just a long one. Break it up for
And then
yourself.
after we end, I'll tell you my secret bonus theory
Oh,
All right, cool.
after we stop the recording. So
End it,
anybody
end
who
it,
wants
end
to
it.
hear that
Guys,
bonus theory,
Go to self-perfected.com.
you gotta go to the website
group,
and
the
subscribe
fucking
to our
Friday
monthly no, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Right.
invite people
right.
to the group and start educating the children, because
Yeah.
if you don't do it, then fuck you.
100% invite people to the group. Become a part of our culture because we are the master race, and we
Called
will
Team Life.
discriminate.
The anti-racist.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
It makes us racist, I think. Anyway.
No, it
Alrighty.
doesn't.
How many anti? Was they 3?
Anti.
It's an
Yeah.
odd number. That's okay. All right. Yeah. But no, definitely come join us. Be a part of our culture for real, because we have the culture of life, meaning we respect all life, value all life equally, and we want all people to value all life equally. And if you have a problem with that, we don't want you. We want you gone. You can
Oh shit, dude.
end yourself.
You weren't supposed to expose.
You were
Ken's-
ending on this high note, and then you went to genocide. And it was just like, straight down.
You know what? We
We're just suggesting you consider changing your ways. How about that?
100%. We definitely suggest that you change your ways. We're not going to force you. We can't force you. But right now, everything aside
Pretty
from
persuasive.
we're pretty persuasive. Everything outside of
Not bad, but
valuing all life equally is genocide. And so if you
Fair
are
enough.
currently participating in genocide, we implore you to stop and join life.
don't be
And we'll
racist.
end it on that.
Don't be racist.